Hello everyone and welcome to the Null Valorant University Varsity Tournament Playoffs Spring 2021. I'm Rook and I'm joined by Dr. as we are bringing you a matchup between Rootkit and Cecil's Finest.
Yeah, absolute cracker of a best of three coming up here. Obviously going into our upper bracket here in the semi-finals of this spring clash.
Yeah, it's really great to see, and we are starting to weed out some of those even weaker teams, even within the Varsity. And, well, on the other side of the bracket, we have a Moral 3 versus Reading Knights A, which is a matchup I'm a little bit sad to miss, but this one is going to be, I think, a little bit closer. I really do think that Reading Knights A have got their number, got a Moral 3's number recently, so it could be a little bit of a stomp. Now, obviously, we're watching Cecil's Finest versus Rootkit, which, if people aren't aware, are Cecil's Finest are York and Rootkit are UEA.
Yeah, and Rootkit have been on a bit of a tear recently. They've had a couple of 2-0s to their name, unfortunately, taking out my alumni of Portsmouth just last week. But other than that, we also saw them play in, I believe it was week 4, about 2 weeks ago, here on the stream. They came up against Mighty Stags, and it was not even close. It was a complete wash. Not a complete wash, because I think Stags got something like 6 rounds in, but other than that, absolute domination across the board, which does seem to be the story for Rootkit.
It really does. Rootkit have been absolutely fantastic, not only in this tournament, but in others as well. UKV in particular, I sometimes count them out because they are a team that looks a little bit rusty, but I think actually with the new addition, CH Newman, they've looked like a really strong squad, and I think it's actually a big improvement for them. And, well, playoffs tends to be their home. This is where they have a lot of success. Yeah. They're great at taking on some of these stronger teams, especially when they had that warm-up, when they've got a little bit of time to work with. And I think Rootkit are very much one of the front runners to pick up the whole tournament.
Yeah, of course, having those best of threes, you get yourself time to get into it, get to bring out a little bit of extra strategies as well. There was a bit of debate going on as to if we would maybe see some ice boxes coming through now that we're coming out onto these longer series, and ultimately having the pressure, of the playoffs can be a very strong boon to some teams.
Yeah, it really can. And I think it's not just that. It's when you're starting to play that more cerebral game, I think they're a team that works well against those opponents because they have such a variety of strats that they can pull out. They are a team that's been around, at least in some shape or form. They've shifted around 2 players off this roster. So that those core three players I'm trying to remember the names off the top of my head, obviously of Dargon, Maximus, and F22 are all absolutely fantastic and play around each other really well, and they can kind of shift up exactly what they're playing. They can change up the strats that they're looking to do, and it really depends on the map. So, for example, we look towards Ascent. One round you'll have F22 just dash on out of the B site, in another, well, you have them playing much more passive on the A site. They have such a repertoire and such a differing set of style of plays that can completely shift up from time to time if one stops working.
Yeah, it makes it very, very difficult to play against a team like that as well. Every time you think that you know what they're about to do, they just pull a complete 180, bust out a different strategy, and suddenly all of the planning that you've just spent the last 3 or 4 rounds doing is completely out the window. But over on the other side, we have, of course, got Cecil's Finest, and I haven't seen too much of Cecil's Finest, but I saw them play in week 4 up against a Moral 3. Was not a great look.
It wasn't. They've struggled against some of these top teams, but I do think there's a lot of value on this team if you're looking at in terms of these players. So in particular, I think Wallaby was /Well, depending on what you know them as. Obviously, Wallaby being the full extension of name. They've been particularly great on this Sage. I've loved what they've been able to bring to the squad, and have been that kind of center point for the team to play around, and I'm excited to see them kind of continue on and continue to have that kind of pressure, because it allows the rest of the team to potentially build around them. And then you're looking towards players like Doc Brodo and Megalodon, who can be that little bit more aggressive and try and set the pace for the rest of the round. The problem is sometimes they can't seize control of that place. Megalodon, great frag, a great entry player, but sometimes he gets a little bit too gung-ho, gets caught out. And if you've got teams that can adapt, like a lot of these top teams can, he gets caught out.
Yeah, that's sort of what we did see from them in that stream a couple of weeks back, where right out the gates they had an insane rush in round 1, first round of the map on offense, very easily turned that one into a win, a very early plant. After that, win the round 2, of course, and then finished up going 3-13. So you get the two runs right out the gate very fast. After that, it starts to go a bit downhill because, as you said, they're very aggressive. And if the enemy team can understand that and be like, okay, let's just play a bit more calm, it's a bit more reserved, they're going to just run out somewhere. If we hang back, we can get a couple of easy picks. I think we saw that Doc Brodo, I believe it was, on the Omen, was trying out a couple of roams and a couple of lurks in that map, and it just wasn't really happening. So I think that if Cecil's Finest could get the early advantage, sure, they might be able to try and snowball their way through and steamroll across this map, but all it would take is just a sort of small edge for Rootkit here or there, just a bit of calmness from Rootkit, bit of understanding, who, as we said, do well under this pressure, and they can spin that right back around, and then it's a best of 3. So the odds for Cecil's Finest, if that's how they're going to play it, do start to look dire. Having said that, though, this is the upper bracket, and they have earned their way here. Yeah,
they've put on a pretty decent performance, taking down some relatively strong teams. I mean, they took out, I believe it was the Mighty Stags, a team who actually have had some pretty good performances recently. They're a team who kind of stepped up, I think, mostly this season, here in 2021. But previously, they had been struggling. And I think they're starting to make a case for themselves to be one of those kind of top 6 teams. And I think if you're consistently able to take them down, like Cecil's Finest, well, at least taking them down twice here, because they did win 2-1, you could start to be making a case that Cecil's Finest are one of these top teams. I think they were coming into this 4th seed. Don't quote me on that. It's hard to remember exactly, but they've definitely proven themselves against some of these more decent squads. But I think looking forward, they're going to have to rein in that aggression. And actually, if we're going to go back to kind of Doc Brodo we were talking about, if I'm thinking about this player, I'm thinking way back. I'm quite nostalgic, man. But he's a bit of a Brimstone player, and Brimstone's stronger. I love to see him put in work. And on that Omen, I don't think it's as good a look for them. He's trying to do all these cheeky plays. He's a solid player. Just play to those fundamentals.
Yeah, ultimately, that's going to be the question here. It's about the fundamentals. Rootkit, they've got him in spades for sure. Cecil's Finest, a bit of a more aggressive, gung-ho, freestyle style. And that's done very well for them so far. Like you said, they're here they're in the upper bracket. They're right now a top 4 team at least, but we'll have to see how far that actually can carry them and how well that kind of technique can work out in these best of series.
It's a big question. And I think it's kind of open to interpretation as well, because some teams, rather than trying to play that more responsive style, just try and hone their particular one. And I think that's something that Cecil's Finest could actually very well do. They have some really strong players. They just need to learn how to deal with players trying to counter-strat them. And you'll see that a lot, actually, as we get deeper on into this bracket. Teams like Immoral Free, teams like Rootkit, they're not here, but Warwick in particular were a team that loved to counter-strat. And Reading Knights A, I think, were absolutely fantastic. When they can get some VODs out of these teams, they pick them apart.
Okay, well, we should be diving in relatively soon, just getting the bans out of the way, and we'll find out what our maps are going to be for this best of 3. And also important to note, as you might expect, Astra off the table. Not too much of a shocker on that one, but she will not be enabled for, I don't think for any of the playoffs.
No, none of the playoffs at all. I think we're keeping the same rules, even if she was legal, I think, within the time frame, which I don't think she is. We'll probably be keeping her out of this one, but maybe for next time.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Astra? Because she feels, whenever she's playing against me, I'm like, the gravity is really annoying, and it's really oppressive. And then there are some games where they do literally nothing, and they're hardly present. Maybe they smoke once or twice, and it's very hit or miss.
I think it's just a very high skill cap character, because the way this is going to work out is that you have to place all of her abilities. You have to put them down preemptively and choose when to activate them. And that gives a lot of room for error. It's not something like Jet. You need a smoke, boom, it's out. You have to plan this one ahead of time, put it in certain areas, and then activate it at the right moment, which gives you so many opportunities to mess it up. You get it somewhere, you put it in a choke that doesn't end up being pushed, or you deploy it way too early because you've been faked out, and you just have to detonate it over a wall, and then suddenly you're out of all of your smokes, you're out of the suck, you're out of the gravity well. And it can go downhill real rapidly from there. So yeah, to say that it's a bit hit or miss, I think completely checks out. Something that really, really strong players can do very well with, but maybe not so much if you're a bit less experienced on her.
Absolutely. And obviously it varies from map to map, which is the kind of point that we're going to segue to now, as we do have those bans starting to come on in. Haven and Icebox taken away here, as our first map is going to be Ascent, and that is picked up, I believe, by UEA.
Yeah, and with UEA, we'll then be playing up on the offense side, as it looks like Cecil's Finest of York have chosen themselves the defense.
Mm-hmm. I think very sensible decision here from York to be able to take away that Icebox. We kind of discussed it earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, we said that maybe Icebox comes through in the best of threes, but probably not. It's still something that a lot of teams are not as comfortable on, and it's a bit of a risk to leave that one open till your third ban if you are, if you're not as comfortable on it yourselves, and then you say, oh, we don't have anything prepared. What if they don't have anything prepared? Maybe we can leave it open and then we'll get to bust out our secret split strat or something like that. But it's at the end of the day, people are not trying to take that risk right now.
Absolutely. So our next map after that is going to be Bind picked up, and it'll be Split as our final one. As obviously we already knew we were going to be playing Ascent, Bind, and Split, but Split is that very last one. Well, I'm glad if it's a 2-0, then we don't have to see Split, which I think is a positive.
Yeah, it's always a nice one to be sure. And then, yeah, just continue to get that one out the way. UAE will be playing defense on Bind, but that will be in quite some time. So we'll go ahead and get into map 1 ASAP. And Ascent, just a bit of a classic, really.
Yeah, despite being one of the maps that was obviously added post-release,
not being
it's
a
actually
classic
one of the
map.
ones we're seeing more often.
Yeah, it's the classic's the wrong term for that one, but it's still it's
a modern classic. You can say modern classic.
Yeah, I'm interested though that actually Haven was taken out and Split was let through. That seems like on most people's tier lists, Icebox way, way, way up at the top, and then a little bit below that one Split. But there's not a lot of love for Haven here for York.
I think it makes sense. I think that UEA don't want to let York have Haven because you can sometimes really lose out there, and I think York in particular have a lot of practice there. It makes sense to take it away. Now, obviously, we're going to see a lot of things get locked on in. I know it's a pretty redundant statement, but nothing out of the ordinary so far, apart from maybe this Reyna from Griffin.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at here. Is with absolutely just speed running it into the picks here, because Reyna picked on up. Obviously, kind of got pretty hard hit by those nerfs a while back, and not something that you really see too often in your competitive setting anymore. And on top of that, we've also got a bit of a Sky pick coming on through, which is, again, something that I've not really seen too much of in comp.
I mean, it's kind of been riding that wave recently. It saw a little bit of play in VCT, and I do think she's very, very strong, especially when she's backed up by some solid smoke plays. If you've got a really good controller player, and I think Doc Brodo certainly knows how to work with their team. I'm excited to see what Megalodon is going to do here, but it's a surprise to not see Megalodon over on something that's more duelist. Still with the flashes, you can make your own plays, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah, they're not solo flashes, right? This isn't like a Yoru or a Phoenix. Kind of need a bit of help on these ones. But I have to say that, I think that Sky is pretty slept on as well, because she just gives so much information. Getting a hit scan on your flashes, getting your hounds and other various hunting animals to sort of run around for you. Get the hound out, you get to see things. The ultimate obviously just locks onto people. So you just get so much intel out, and we'll have to see if that's something that Cecil's Finest can use to their advantage here.
It is. A little bit of info trying to come out here from a while earlier, but doesn't find any damage as Cecil's Finest, as UEA don't get too aggressive too early. Flash goes in, Megalodonga tries to keep it on out, but WAL is already on the flank as F22 pushes on in. That's an easy frag for themselves. A good flashpoint there from Dargon does open up that site. Cecil's Finest are now finding themselves a player down, even with those tags coming through. They're trading back and forth, trying to find it at long range, but unfortunately that classic reigns supreme in the hands of CH Newman, and the new blood for UEA certainly has been performing as of late, and I think, honestly, it's a surprise to see these newer players players performing in playoffs, but CH Newman really has stepped up when their team has needed them to do so. Fabrications looking for a way on in here with these smokes there. Have one of the few pieces of utility that could potentially help with this play here, but eating an arrow right onto the face, trying to deal with Griffin there, but with Yudoku's position completely given away. This is going to be such a difficult way for Cecil's Finest to try and win this out at all, especially because he knows the push is even coming into the face. Yudoku does get Griffin, but Maximus is all too happy to back him up.
A bit of a confident play from Griffin on that one, but he knows he's got the support. There's a world where Cecil's Finest come out on top of that. They did a lot of damage across the round, some very low health bars there for Rootkit, but Rootkit doing a great job of getting themselves onto the site, even though Cecil's were holding it down pretty well. Obviously, WoW getting that early pick off looked pretty good, but I think Megalodon is spending a bit too much time there in market. He was found out the first time that they went and flashed on in, but still tried to hold on through, and then we saw Dargon just push right on through, secure out that first round, and then probably the second with these guns.
Fabrications jiggle peeking for that info. Shots do actually manage to land onto them there. Good usage of the Bulldog, as UE8, for the most part, just trying to find some info with their pistols and, well, their rifles early.
Yeah, they can play this one out pretty slow when they got themselves a range advantage. Looks like a little bit of extra firepower as Dargon trying to flush out there on a long, get himself a nice orb for free. Again, play it out slow. When you have this kind of weapon advantage, you can go ahead and just play for the orbs right now. Cecil's Finest not in the best spot to be able to try and contest it, as it looks like the push is slowly starting to come towards this A site.
And that could be a bit of a mistake for UEA here. Look at how many players are nearby. A little bit of a rotate back towards those other sites, but this drone is likely going to prompt a pretty quick response. Griffin's pushing on through, but it's going to get flanked here. Too many players on too many angles. The wall gets popped. That means Yudoku has to hold site alone, but actually gets the frag out. Unfortunately, the rest of their team is falling left, right, and center. Wow! Does get one as well. That right click on the classic, people have been complaining about it for ages, and it's still so darn strong. Megalodon versus 3, and with only a classic to their name, this could make things very difficult. The dart even forcing them forward, and their position just given away. I don't think they expect this Rainer to be here. They don't indeed. And UEA pretty understandably pick up that round.
Yeah, get that one somewhat for free, but 2 kills were picked up by Cecil's Finest. Yudoku with that lurk on the site. It was looking a bit scary, to be honest. And then it suddenly started to look a little bit better. You see here, once that door comes down, it suddenly goes from being a 1v4 to a 1v2, and he's a bit more happy about it. But he picks himself up a kill. Wow, securing that one on the site, playing very patiently also. But, again, end of the day, it's an advantage over to Rootkit. Found themselves up 2-0, but the 2 members who fell, not looking too hot on that gun front again.
You know, Doc goes in, tries to find some information, but I can't remember exactly who is their Sova, but their Sova not quite being able to find some information, at least early on here. Oh, it is WoW. I was wrong. So I was right, at least initially here. Going to be able to sit in that position, but for the most part, Cecil's Finest very worried about this push that's coming on site pretty darn quickly here. Well, gets a spray down to 1, but unfortunately the frenzy of CH Newman denies them more than that, and with the rifle pushes out, dies to Megalodon as they just don't expect the player to be coming on in from that spawn. It's Griffin. It's going to be that first point of contact. Nothing coming in just yet. UEA playing that slower gameplay. As soon as they have control, they know how to be able to set themselves up for it. Some good team flashing coming on in here means that Doc Proto can net 1. But even with that player advantage, things could get a little bit dicey. For Cecil's Finest here, the flashes go on through. Maximus's position is also given away. They know there's 2 towards the back there. Almost certainly here, they're keeping an eye on it. They're rotating players on in, and unfortunately, after any 2, he only finds the 2. It's going to be the round going over, I believe, from what I can hear of the sound, to Cecil's Finest. And UEA, well, they find the frags, but it's not quite enough to tip them over the edge.
A great retake coming through from Cecil's Finest there. Excellent timing on that play into the back of the site in the 3v2. Great swings, but you can see a lot of coordination is coming out from Rootkit early on. If you look at this game from WoW's perspective, every time he sees a smoke, there's suddenly 4 people on the other side of it, and he's finding himself up in that 1v4 situation. That was an excellent flick and excellent control coming from F22, but unfortunately not quite enough when there's 3 people. But yeah, just early on into the rounds, it seems that everywhere Cecil's Finest look, it just seems to be a 5v1, a 5v2. And that's a bit of a worrying sight.
I mean, that's sometimes the issue when you're on this defense. You can be just in such a deficit in terms of players. But Rootkit as a whole have been good at just playing around each other. Newman almost finds that first frag, but only blood.
Yeah.
No deaths yet.
Yeah, it does do a bit to explain that Haven ban as well. Yeah. If you're a little bit worried about getting caught out by those rotating attackers, or having to rotate to the attackers, I should say. I'll get rid of that one for sure. But the play is a little bit more split this time around. 2-1-2 coming out from Rootkit, but no, never mind. Actually, it's a 2-0-2 pick up there for Fabrications, and now a bit of action onto the A site might give away the intentions of Rootkit.
Ult gets popped, those Seekers fly on through from Sussel's Finest, and they really want to be able to take this round. I think a good investment here, but Rootkit mostly making the mistake of not covering this tree angle where Fabrication was just easily able to push out of.
Yeah, he's got himself right out into the mid now, getting himself a fair bit of control of the smoke. Buys time, but I think you're right. Excellent investment. Oh, Newman gets almost caught out there, and then, yeah, Fabrications picks him up on the back. Great mid-control here from Fabrications.
What Megalodonga finds one. That was stellar from Megalodonga there, and you can see now that Rootkit are really rushing their way on into sight, but Fabrications finds a third, and has really just gotten away with daylight robbery here. Really should not be found in this situation, even remotely. That was just slip-up after slip-up from Rootkit.
Yeah, Fabrication's great play, but he should not be getting away with the same kill 3 times in a row. Yet he does, swinging that round back for his team. And again, just great control of mid here. This time, Rootkit playing it a little bit too slow. They have this 2-1-2 set up too far into the round, and once they lose their mid, once Fabrication picks up his first kill, suddenly it becomes so hard for either of those two to rotate and meet up with the others. How do you now push a site when you don't have control of mid? That's the ultimate question for Rootkit, who are now stacking up a little bit more on one half of the map.
Yeah, this could be a little bit better. Make sure you're actually covering those angles, as that was the real problem which left them behind in that previous round, because Fabrication should never be getting away with that. So, yeah, looking on into this, I love that they're actually just trying to force through one angle, but we know that, obviously, with this Killjoy, it can easily be a bit of a problem for them. The shot has to come back with the pistol, but it's all too okay. That one. As the headshots, well, they come out from the Sheriff, but he just right-clicks his way on through that problem, and now, wow, it's looking to hold this angle, making sure no one pops out. So much site control for Rootkit here.
Yeah, they've made their way nice onto A, and as we said, Rootkit, they're good at switching up their strategy. Cecils weren't expecting this. Now they've got to play a hard retake as WoW's going to be found, but ooh! Naxxon Moose not quite landing a shot in time.
Yeah, Hunter's Fury comes through here. Fabrications expecting that push from F22. They were not aware that that push was going to come on through. They weren't aware that the push had come all the way around from Cecil's Finest into that backline, and now maybe it's going to come home to roost. Yudoku's on the flank.
What?
Almost gets the triple, but the push on through from the lane means they don't get caught, and well, CH Newman is all too happy to punish Yudoku for stepping up there.
Yudoku saw it. He could see his ace right there, but not able to pull that one out in the 1v4 scenario. As Blue Kit do manage to defend their way through this one, and it's not the cleanest kill here for F22, but, you know, 3 right clicks, only needed to hit 2 of them, and he picks himself off that first kill. And I think, again, Cecil's not expecting this kind of rapid play from Rootkit when they had played the round before so much calmer. We see, again, Yudoku, he was trying it with the 1v4, but it's a bit of a difficult one to pull out.
Dude, it was. Will this game be down to Overwatch diff? I think that's the big question on a lot of players' lips. Both of these teams were always, I believe, talking about the fact that Overwatch diff, in terms of these players and what games they played prior, was always such an important feature. And, I mean, if that's true, Cecil's Finest should be picking this one up. And so far, it's been an impressive performance from them. However, aggression like that obviously doesn't always pay off, and that Judge not finding anything in tree, a little bit disastrous for them, but they weren't expecting to find the most in this round. A frag or 2, wherever they can get it, will do them just nicely.
Yeah, they might be looking for a little bit extra, but no, it seems to be a pretty uncontested site. F22 has a nice angle here, though, on Heaven. Yudoku trades it back. So F22 not getting exactly what he was looking for there. Dargan now trying something a little bit similar.
Cheeky flanks are plenty, as CH Newman is already back here, moving towards tree. Will actually just miss this guy here. We'll catch them on the rotate now as they're moving on up into heaven. They aren't expecting to flank, and, well, that'll be an easy peasy 2K for CH Numa to finish out the round. UEA, they got a lot of control early and flexed that weapon advantage.
Yeah, real happy to take the round that's given to him there and pair that nice and fast. Now, I've got to know, is Overwatch diff a good thing or a bad thing here?
It's supposed to be a good thing here. I don't know why. Because Rootkit, like, don't have that many Overwatch players, and they've always been one of the top teams. Just saying.
I mean, I feel like what would matter is it would be the sort of ratio of Overwatch players. Like if I've got
ratio of Overwatch players to CS players.
Yeah, but like if I've got someone that's got 3 Overwatch players and no versus a team with none, but the team with none has 5 CS players, that's I think I'm okay with being 5 CSs. I think Cecil's Finest are okay with being 5v4.
Yeah, normally I'd be pretty happy to be up like that, but Maximus stepping out a little bit too much there. Doesn't hit those all-important headshots. I think gets some wallbang body shots, and it's just like, you can only see the head, man. How did I not get that shot on in? I feel you, but sometimes you just got to be a little bit more solid than that and get the info like that. Great play from WoW, and that's again the coordination from Rootkit here. Doku not expecting that push from Griffin to come in quite as it happened. Thought that their Nano Swarm would buy them that little bit of extra time, but the Rootkit now have gotten onto site. They're going to be able to get that plant down, and we're looking at that post-plant situation. And even though Cecil's Finest have that player advantage, it could be a little difficult for them, especially with this Empress on board for Griffin here, who's looking for those headshots. A beautiful one-way setup by their teammate. Pushes.
Cecil's play it slow, wait for the 4, and
that was beautifully done by F22 there to keep things relatively close, but CH Newman is going to have their work cut out for them. Finds that first. Can they get the second position? Completely given away here. And Wallaby will pick that one up. Cecil's Finest do get that retake going, and Rootkit, unfortunately, not quite able to make that happen because of those early picks coming through.
Oh, and it's a nice controlled round, actually, from Cecil's Finest as well. We were talking before the game. We were expecting to see them come out guns blazing, early aggression, and this time round, no. Say, hey, we have the numbers advantage. Let's just wait it out. Wait for the 4v3 on site. Play it slow. Swing together. Trade it off Griffin into the Empress as well. That's absolutely fine. And just controlled, just reserved, which is what we need to sort of see from this Cecil squad.
You better run, Silver.
Sprinkle of aggression wouldn't go amiss here if Fabrications can find that big spray down, especially since they dodged that concussion and managed to get out of there before they lose their life. Good play around with those dashes. That's what you want to be doing on the Jet. Non-committal options. That's what you're always looking for here. Doc Brodo probably not expecting players to push out there, especially with Aaliyah. And we'll get caught off guard here early. That mid-play does see a lot of map control here, but Megalodon, if they make this flank work, it could be big. It could be that opportunity they need to strike right on back and even take more for their squad. So much reinforcement on this A site from the Killjoy. I think Rootkit are good and very sensible in pushing round here. The fact that F22 wins that is shocking for Cecil's Finest.
That is ridiculous, and it's rough for Cecil's. That absolutely needs to be a pick for them, but now it's a 5v3. Yodoku trying to break out that wall, give himself away, and Rootkit take complete control of the site.
Did they do? And now, as opposed to the situation where they had that player... Okay, what's
sprinting!
Here, Cecil's Finest? What's going on?
Man was going at maximum speed.
At least Well finds that one, because I was worried for a second there.
We've gone from a very good controlled round to Cecil's to a very rough one very quickly. So many kills coming across, it just shouldn't be. This is an amazing read by Rootkit, for sure, that you can see Doc Brodo is just not expecting that Lear to come out whatsoever. But Megalodonga, bud, you gotta be hitting those shots. And F22, Newman was sprinting with a knife out, but it's not heard, and so there's no anticipation for the kill.
It really will be difficult. I mean, now they've got those sheriffs. Sheriffs can find something, but it's going to have to be plays like this, like we saw from Fabrications earlier, to find those shots and find those easy, quick trades and get out just as promptly. Maximus starting to close in, starting to give that information over to their team. The dash on through, the paranoia buys a lot of time. It's a good bit of damage, and as they're halfway through the smoke, F22 completely denies them any sort of play here. He's now pretty in that hell position. Brodo waiting for a chance to maybe strike on out here, but no, he's pushing through that smoke, pushing through that dark cover. Could be ever so problematic, and while he's starting to open up different avenues for them to play around.
He's cracking open that door, but here's a 2v1. Newman pretty happy with where he's at. Takes the telly over.
Yep. Should be pretty easy close out there for Rootkit. Good couple of frags and not losing all too much as well.
No, what a beautiful entry coming through from F22 there. That was pretty crisp, pretty perfect. And again, it's a variation on strategy. I think F22, he knows that not too many threats are here on the A site. He knows he's got a gun advantage, just dashes right on in and picks himself up a really easy kill and essentially solo on that site. And again, it's a switch up for Rootkit. They've never had F22 just dash his way onto the A site before, and Cecil's Finest didn't have enough members there to respect it.
Griffin does get caught by some of that utility early, but Megalodon doesn't have the backup here to do anything off of it. Maybe just using those flashes for info, which we absolutely can do on this Sky, but now that they've got a rotate on, now that they've got Wallaby's backup, maybe this could be what they need. The drone going on through to trying to show themselves this push isn't coming. Hunter's Fury as well to try and punish them getting hit by that tag, but isn't expecting it, still manages to take their frag, and that's 2 on the board for Cecil's Finest here as they find their way on into the round. CH Newman doing just that as well as he cracks open this B site. He's easily going to play towards it as we see Cecil's Finest just completely rotate away from it. Dargon doing a great job at just catching them off guard and completely fooling the rest of Cecil's Finest.
It's a great bait, a great distraction, and a great pick on to Doc Broder as well. Getting the numbers back towards even, and you see that Rootkit taking their time on this B site, really waiting it out before they deploy, because Cecil's Finest are in absolute shambles. They don't know which site to go to.
They're really unsure. They were maybe expecting that A push off those flashes came through, but unfortunately, they just weren't aware that CH Newman had dived onto that site and got so much control for a Rootkit here. Trying to invest some of that util to make sure those cheekier angles aren't being held. They do have that recon dart, which could make a world of difference here, but they likely aren't expecting Dargon to just be playing here. The Rolling Thunder as well to buy some time. The Killjoy doesn't quite go to the back of sight, so the lockdown doesn't do everything here. However, F22 pushes way too aggressively. CH Newman to back him up. The lockdown goes off! But CH Newman still comes up big. The last remaining player, Yodoku, sitting on this spike, is going to try and does get half, but returns to it. He's trying to hold it. This
got it!
It goes off as CH Newman doesn't even need to worry about that one as the spike does his job.
Oh, he might not need to worry about it, but I think he could have been. That was a excellent retake coming through there from Cecil's Finest, and yeah, a little bit overconfident from Rootkit for sure, has to be said, but you can see Newman gets the swing out, great 1v2, but not able to take out the lockdown in time, and excellent pick here for Yodoku, just not quite able to get that one out in time. You think just 1 second on it. 1 second made the difference, but it's still a win for Rootkit. Has to feel pretty bad for Cecil's Finest.
It really does. That was such a good opportunity for them. They had the ult down and everything. The lockdown could have been everything they needed, but a great concussion means Megalodon will be able to get at least one here. And there should be a rifle they could try and snatch. They're using a lot of utility to get there, and CH Newman is just waiting right there, but with that full flash, it will be at least a rifle secured. So much utility invested, however, and Cecil's have to be at least somewhat worried about that.
Of course, this is one of the risks of playing so many varied strategies. Sometimes you're not ready for a kind of push like that. As Fabrications gets a good flank angle here. Finds himself 1 kill with those knives, but hasn't got too many left to his name.
But neither did Rootkit when it comes to players. They've seeded too early on here, and with Doc Brodo playing his angle, I think it's only a matter of time. Oh, Dargon! Swings a little wide for him, and Doc Brodo just was not ready. Complete control of CT here, of CT here, means that they really can start to edge this control out, even finishes off that all-important Killjoy, who would otherwise have slowed this take and made it to a grinding halt. Now, this means that it's 3 versus 3, and Cecil's Finest do not have any sort of advantages. They're down in weapons. Maybe this ult can do something, but they're really going to have to step up if they want to take this at all. They're going to push in off of the back of it, but we can obviously see that the wall is waiting right there. Finally, they crack it open and think, now is our time to strike. F22 backing up Dargon here, and with CEH Newman covering it as well, you know that Fabrications is going to have hard work in front of them, as this is looking like a half that is very much in the favor of Rootkit. And on the attacking side, that's such a shock.
Yeah, and even with those 2 picks being made by Cecil's Finest, Rootkit continue to play it out slow, continues to play it controlled, and find themselves the kills. This is absolutely huge that Doc Brodo is just not able to react in time, unfortunately, and Newman gets 2 great kills there on mid to even it out. You think that you have to sort of expect that door's going to be down as well, because that one's giving away a pretty heavy amount of information when you drop those wallabies and the door's just blocking them off, lets everyone know where it is you're coming from, and that would have been a really important round to win for Cecil's Finest, but instead they blow a lot of utility, a lot of ults, and don't really come up with much to show for it, moving towards this midpoint.
They really do. Cecil's Finest. They're finding themselves very much on the back foot, and they don't have many of those ultimates that they tried to use to open up rounds earlier. They have at least rifles here, which could be, obviously, the saving grace, but so far it hasn't been rifles which have brought them rounds. It's often been individual plays with, well, pretty lackluster weapon.
Yeah, they always manage to find themselves something cheeky with the knives, with the buckies, but I don't think they're finding too much this time.
F22 is quite low here, could go down. Yudoku swings out wide and in fact does deny them, but it's Griffin who falls, not F22, and they are taking it to town. As now Wild just has to back on off here, can't find a thing. Just playing that more passive angle, waiting for their other teammate to show up here. They need to play around each other. Those flashes are going to be the only thing which are going to save you from this position. And, well, Megalodon is no longer on the board. Wow, he finds one. It's 1 versus 3. It's the last round of the half. Might as well go whole hog here. With a very low health player, maybe they could find a couple more frags here. Those knives out as well. It could be a problem. The dash, the oh, wow. It was all going so well, but F22 just does not let up.
I'm sitting here thinking F22's 4 health. He's basically not in the game right now. Could be an even fight for Rootkit, for Finest, but F22's having none of it. Jump up over, secure himself the 4K to end out that half, and a pretty dominant half it's been. Somewhat classic for Rootkit, but as we know, they are a bit more of an offensive-sided team, and Cecil's Finest, they were finding their way, getting a couple of picks, getting a couple of kills, and they do like the aggression also, so we might be seeing some shenanigans come on out of this first round.
We could be, and shenanigans feel kind of, well, necessary for Cecil's Finest if they can get it, but if it's Rootkit, they're just easily going to find a couple of these angles, because I do not think that Cecil's Finest are even remotely expecting this, and the fact that F22 gets frags like that this early does not bode well, as everything seems to be falling. Megalodon, the last bastion of these plays, with the backup from Yudoku, they could make it happen as the dart just barely doesn't land onto that player. It's now 2 versus 2 in relatively similar health pools, and F22, they have control of the spike.
It's relatively similar, but Megalodon, obviously on the sky, can even it up a bit, which is so important in these pistol rounds. F22 pushing up quite far.
Oh, no! They just weren't expecting it, and the man comes alive. Divine aim, as I've said many a times before, is a great descriptor. Rootkit are now on those double digits and don't look to be slowing down anytime soon.
Absolutely not anticipating it all. 1 tap, 1 kill onto Megalodon at least. Took a few more tries to take out Yudoku, but a great way to start off this half for Rootkit. And we said there'd be shenanigans. It's not quite what we were expecting, but I don't think Cecil were expecting it either.
Oh, they really weren't. They find themselves at such a deficit now, and they're deciding we can't even afford to force here. We found a little bit in that round, but nowhere near enough. Instead, we're going to be playing for that more sensible position. Now, talking about shenanigans, here's a shenanigan and a half! As the backup from Dargon as well, as 4 fall, and not a single frag on the board. A flawless round, and a beautiful round for Rootkit.
And that is one of the weaknesses of trying to play too aggressive, trying to absolutely run it on in. That, yeah, when there's a hold here from Rootkit, when you get Maximus down there and those long angles, which are not too difficult to flush out with a bit of utility, but Cecil's Finest ultimately can't really afford to drop the cash on that one. Means that it is a flawless round for Rootkit, who now only need to get themselves 2 more rounds to cinch this best of 3. Well, sorry, the first game of this best of 3, I should say.
Yeah, we still have a little bit more. We might even be going on over to split. It'd be interesting to see. We are having some tactical pauses, I believe, coming out from Cecil's Finest here, trying to keep the dream alive. They know they've got to buy up here, but thinking about whether they should go for something a little bit more, well, a little bit less spenny, basically, so that they can, if they lose, they still have a chance to maybe bring it back to overtime.
Now, I'm going to be honest. If I was Cecil's Finest, I would not be taking a tactical pause in this situation. Because despite holding a sports psychology degree, my mental would be nowhere near good enough. So you have to respect it a little bit. That they're sitting here 3-11 and they're not saying, okay, let's go next. We'll get the next one. They're saying, okay, what are we doing in this round, in this half? How are we going to try and turn around this game of the series? Which is commendable. And we'll see exactly what the strategy that they came up with during that pause is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's also great because historically this team hasn't always had the best mental. I know for a fact that especially Megalodon can get a little bit tilted. And I'm glad to see that they're at least able to sort that out somewhat. And it's great to see improvement from these teams, if it's not necessarily on a strategic level. Having a better mental wins you games, especially in those ranked ones. So keep that in mind if you're playing at home. Maximus with a great dart to open up here. Gets a bit of information of it, even though it's not that recon dart, tells you so much because you hear those hit markers, and the rotate is going to come through relatively quickly, at least from some of these players, as Maximus slinking on into tree to maybe try and open up a couple of different avenues.
Crack that door open right quick as Jargon not getting tagged up by the shock dart. Keep himself nice and healthy whilst we wait for Rootkit to come on in. They've got themselves a lot of time and a lot of utility still available.
Bit of damage onto Megalodon there. Probably wasn't expecting to get caught. Griffin just pushes on through. The dismiss onto the site. Is already putting these angles, but wasn't checking this. The flash is huge. They clean up the 2 players underneath here, and F22 is just waiting, knows that is coming. Griffin says pull, and Fabrications just falls. And even though Udoku finds one, Rootkit completely destroy that round. And, well, it's all over, but the writing now for Cecil's Finest here in Game 1.
Yeah, all they got to do is find themselves that final round, and given the state of the econ of Cecil's Finest, it shouldn't be too tall of an order for Rootkit, and honestly, it's been a pretty dominant performance so far. Absolutely earning their way into a 13-3 potential score. They just seem to have Cecil's Finest number. Again, got to bring up that Lear coming out from Griffin to catch out Doc Brodo a couple rounds ago. I think it was round 10, round 11. They just knew that he'd be going for that flank. They've absolutely got Cecil's Finest number, and they're just earning their way onto this first half.
I love the utilization of the sky here to just get that ult and get on in, as Maximus just does not know what hit him. The concuss, the near sight is way too much, and, well, Dargon isn't even able to deal with the aggression from Fabrications there. So Rootkit find themselves down a player. Well, only for a second, as now they're up one. F22, the constant headache for Cecil's Finest here. And with this push coming on in, they've got a couple of weapons here and there, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough, as F22 is just going for style points, honestly, at this point in time. Udoku's sitting backside yet again. On this kill draw, it's not a surprise to be the last one remaining, but in situations like this, what do you do, man? A 4K for F22, an emphatic way to end out map 1.
Absolutely strong close of the game. And a strong map all around for Rootkit. Dominating right out the gate and not even giving a single point over in that second half, because, again, they had so much variety in their strategies. They had so many ways to play it. You didn't understand if they're going to be coming at you fast, if they're playing it slow, if they're playing controlled. There was, that one time they played it a bit too controlled and ceded all of the mid because of it. But other than that, not really been a lot of answers coming out from Cecil's Finest.
Yeah, a little bit sad to see there that they couldn't get very much in at all. And, well, I'd like to see a little bit more stronger defensive play from Sussel's Finest, but kind of going on into the next map, Bind, it's a little bit better for them. I think they're more at home there, and I think they should be able to find a lot more success.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, something I think we do need to see a lot more of is going to be just respect on those flanks and on the lurks that were coming through from Rootkit, because we saw more times than we should have that either a successful lurk comes through and a lot of kills are picked up on the back by Rootkit, or that whoever was holding that angle on the side of Cecil's Finest wasn't able to get the kill where they had the advantage, where they had the element of surprise or what have you. And that's something that's really going to need to be clamped down on coming into this next map. But as you say, it's been a little bit more comfortable for Cecil's Finest, and a map that lends itself a little bit nicer to some of those more aggressive plays. Just when you have such shorter lanes, shorter rotations, you've got the teleports going on. It's a bit more enclosed, which could be something that Cecil's Finest want.
Absolutely, but we're going to have to obviously wait for that one. We are going to go to a short break, but in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Unite students, Twitch student, and Logitech G. Don't forget, if you're interested in getting a room, if you haven't sorted out your housing for next year at university, well, Unite students, student accommodation across 25 cities with free cancellation. You can book your room for 2021-2022 today. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back with more VALORANT action.
Party.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Valorant University Varsity Tournament, obviously brought to you by the NUL, Unite students, Twitch student and Logitech G. Now if you're in the market for a good mouse, now may I suggest this, cut the cord. The Logitech G703, actually really solid. I was really worried actually going on into things that wireless mice might be a little bit awkward, but I find it really good. Don't literally cut your cord though. Do not charge me for your broken mice.
I need a wireless mouse. I was chilling on AimLab yesterday.
Doing bad.
It's like, hey, you're pretty bad at flicking towards the right there. And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason for that. It's my computer's too far away, and I actually can't get a wireless mouse. That technology's come a long way since the last time I used one of those. But we are chilling here in a best of 3. Rootkit taking on Cecil's Finest. Rootkit leading 1-0, taking up that first win on Ascent. But we'll now be moving on over to Bind for our second map.
Yeah, and Bind, going to be that pick actually for Cecil's Finest York squad. I actually think it's much better for them. Obviously, they picked it, the reason why. But historically, there's been a lot of success on it for Rootkit as well. So I do think Cecil's Finest are going to have to step up, especially after a pretty dominant scoreline on the first map, wasn't it? It was 13-4.
Yeah, no, dominance is definitely one word for it. There seem to be moments of hope for Cecil's Finest here and there, but ultimately it was pretty much a shutout by Rootkit. And as we said before the break, there were some sort of issues coming through with those lurks and those flanks that weren't really expected by Cecil's Finest. But also, I think when we saw the high-pressure situations in that game, Rootkit were performing a lot better. We would have situations where it's like, oh, it's a 3 versus 5 because Cecil's Finest have made 2 really good picks, early on into the round, something that you can do versus Rootkit because they play so many sort of different strategies. You can oftentimes get away with like, we'll just put like a couple of extra people in some random spots and we'll probably find one person out. It doesn't work if they send 5 people into that spot, which they might, but if they don't, you can get a couple of picks here and there. But even though there were these 3v5s, 4v5s coming through for Cecil's Finest favor, Rootkit would still find a way to get the plant and turn it around.
I mean, it did bode well, the fact that they were able to get those opening picks, and I think that means that Cecil Finest do at least have something here, but it was the regularity with which Rootkit were often the ones to kind of push on forward, and obviously on the attack, you're often expecting yourselves to be the ones to find those first picks, but Rootkit were just constantly pushing up aggressively in some of those angles, and it didn't seem like Cecil knew how to deal with it. Now, obviously, this is a defender-sided map. We're going to need to see Cecil's do a little bit more of that. And I think maybe swapping on a Megalodonga over onto his Phoenix is a really good idea because you have that run it back available and you have that sustain for yourself so he can make those aggressive plays on the defense.
Yeah, you were saying during the agent selection of last game that you're a bit surprised by Megalodonga playing something a bit more for the team when he busted out that Sky. This time around, much more up his street with that duelist insta-lock. Everyone else thinking about their picks. Let's take some time before we send those in. But Megalodonga absolutely just ready for that Phoenix, no questions asked. But as you say, a little bit more on the defense side of the map spectrum, and that's somewhere where a character like Sky can do a little bit more work than someone like that Phoenix. But aggression is the name of the game for Cecil's Finest. So, got a bit of comfort pick coming out there with a duelist early on. Can do wonders.
I think comfort will do wonders for them. I think it's very sensible that they've gone for it because this team we know can perform. And I want to see more of it. Surprised to see Doc Brodo looking towards that Omen again. I really think Brim would be the right decision here. But Fabrication is even thinking to hover the... Oh, I was excited for a Viper for a second there.
Yeah, Viper on Bind, not something we're seeing every day. But Doc Brodo comes on through with that Omen once again. So no Brimstones happening this time around, but triple duelist setup. Again, a little bit more up Cecil's Finest Street, and with Bind being their choice of map as well, things are starting to look up for the Cecil squad.
Yeah, and I actually think it's really good because you often find yourself making like quick retakes, like off of a not entirely set in stone offense. I actually think even on the defense, having those aggressive tools is going to be pretty fantastic. And I mean, I think a lot of people have already heard my opinions about Raze. I think Raze is super, super strong on Bind here. There's so many chokes to play around with, and she kind of acts as a great way to have a stopgap sentinel who can still be good when you go over to that offense.
Yeah, we look at Bind, we look at the map. It's very short and very enclosed. Lots of small corridors, choke points, corners, things like that, which lend themselves very well to Cecil's Finest skills as a team. You don't have to worry too much about these rotations, about being split, about too much control of mid, because you have teleporters, because you can just go fast, and they have the agents to do it as well. So this first half is as comfortable as Cecil's Finest will ever be.
Yeah, they will. The smoke's going in pretty quickly, though, and cut up that site. I think Rootkit being very sensible and not aggressing too much here. Trading 1-for-1, taking down Doc Brodo. It's not all bad. Being able to take that Omen off the board and those smokes can be ever so problematic. Maximus playing deep into heaven here. But a lot of players from Cecil's Finest here very spread out, much more towards bathrooms than you would otherwise expect. Obviously, not having that Sage, so can't physically cut up the site. So playing that more open position is a lot better. Fabrication's able to trade back and forth, meaning that they're not all too far behind. But Griffin always makes an entrance here. Unfortunately, as he does so, gives away his position and his teammates' position as well. Dargon is going to have to go huge here. Going to be able to take down 2, playing that very same angle. Going to stick on the spike now, but that just puts him out in the open. Unfortunately, he's still got to deal with one more play and doesn't have the bullets. Swaps guns for like a 3rd time this round, and it seems to be enough. Unfortunately, won't be able to pick it up, but still an impressive performance from him.
He wasn't able to half the spike the first time around, but at least he picks himself up a couple of kills. A nice little swap on the guns, as you said there, and honestly, we're expecting, I think, maybe a little bit more from Cecil's Finest out of their opener here, because, as we said, this is very much their comfort point, playing on offense, playing with these 3 duelists. But you can see sort of what happens when they get onto the site and don't get an immediate massive numbers advantage. Being able to, hold the site in the retake, pretty difficult for this triple duelist lineup, especially when your Omen's off the table early. And we have seen time and time again last map just how good Rootkit are at playing the retake.
We really have. They are stellar at it. Unfortunately, a little bit slow on that one, but I have no doubt that they're going to be able to find openings yet again. Oh, pushes on out. Unfortunately, Wow was just watching and waiting. F22 short finds one with that Sheriff, but it's only one. And Rootkit, well, we said they have great retakes, but it's unlikely they're going to be able to find it here. They're going to have to really pull things out of the bag, and they don't have those flashes that are always so necessary. Breach already taken out. CH Newman looking for a chance to strike on him with Maximus, but it ain't to be. It ain't to be. And Cecil's Finest will pick up 2 straight rounds early on the offense here on Bind.
Now, this is a lot more like what we want to see from Cecil's Finest. When you go in for these aggressive moves early on with your duelists, you need to have that numbers advantage. As we said, the retake, or the hold during an even retake, pretty difficult to do when you've got yourself that Raze and Phoenix. But when they have the 4 versus 2 on the site, then they're feeling a little bit more comfortable. And you can see they turn that one into a quick 2-0 start. But now that all the guns are on the table, I think this is going to be the moment of truth for Cecil's Finest.
22. With this longer angle with smokes, we know it can be ever so problematic for them. Hunter's Fury goes on through and allows Yodoku to just reap the reward. F22 finally shuts him down. But Cecil's Finest get a lot of value out of that one. Going to have the spike on down. This push to make the retake happen is going to be ever so difficult. Trying to get those pre-fires, trying to find those shots. They take down Doc Brodo and now have completely cut off anyone from this left-hand side of site. Fabrications. He's going to have to get a good spray down. We've seen more from them before. Can they get it again? Oh, the Spectre doesn't lead to everything. And, oh, the Satchel was just a little bit wide. Spike DV's just coming on through, but Megalodon are still ready on site. They didn't have that much of a man advantage. And now Griffin split attention between 2 different angles. That'll be Cecil's Finest all the way to the bank.
And a huge win for Cecil's Finest. Gotta say that last time I was here casting them a few weeks ago, we saw a similar story where they had an incredibly aggressive opener to pick up those first 2 rounds, and this was up against Immoral 3, and then they finished the game 3-13. They got the first 2 rounds, but the second that the guns were even, and the superior gunplay, which we have somewhat seen from Rootkit, started to come through, that's when it all fell apart for Cecil's Finest. So they are keeping their momentum going this time around, picking up that 3rd round as F22. Very aggressive.
Yes, super aggro there from F22 and gets punished for it accordingly. Well played. by Megalodon here, and will be able to deny them so much to run it back and still managing to even survive with that one position given away of Griffin, and is going to have to dismiss themselves the heck out of there. Gets a lot of info, gets a lot of vision through that one. They know there's likely a jet close by, but can't peek that angle. Too many players, too many lines. And now it's just 1 versus 4, and, well, doesn't even find that first. Well played by Yudoku there, and especially stellar stuff from Megalodon to be able to get that refrag. And I think Rootkit maybe trying to throw a little bit too much in there.
Yeah, but again, this is the confidence coming through from Cecil's Finest. You've got Megalodon on something a lot more aggressive up here on the Phoenix, not playing the Sky anymore. He's able to get into the site, get those frags, and as we said, when they can commit to an early site, when they can play fast, they can play aggro early on, they're having a really good time. When you don't have those worries about the lurks and the slow rotates that you might have from a more open map like Ascent, you can get yourself into some very, very early advantages here for Cecil's Finest. As a bit of a showstopper comes on through, Fabrication just again right through onto the site.
Really wants to find these ways to just execute on through. However, they get caught by that concuss, and it does time out. Nothing yet from that raise, but no, it's likely to come. Paint shells don't quite find anyone. I think Dargon's very lucky there. Whenever I deal with paint shells, they take me right off the board like WoW will do to F22. Fabrication's just about gets out of dodge. They're going to be playing towards this, but Griffin making that operator work. Oftentimes, I don't see a lot of success from the operator there because it's just too close quarters. But absolutely brilliant stuff, and used to play some of this jet as well, so definitely can play those more non-committal styles. However, WoW has been stellar with their utilities, able to make it happen, but it's CH Newman who helps clean up the rest of their act, and again, this new blood for the squad. I think it's such a good look for Rootkit.
Again, a strong retake from Rootkit. Like you said, new guys coming in, and it's a good look. It really is. When this is a relatively, high stakes. It's upper bracket, sure. So there is there's a lower bracket underneath, and already leading 1-0 in the best of 3. Means there's not too much on the table right now for Rootkit, but at the same time, when you're down 0-4 at the start of the round, you do need to get some of that clutch coming through. And this time around, we saw the big moves coming out. Griffin as well, holding on to that op. Pretty massive for Rootkit. If they'd lost that one across that round, I think the economy would have been a little bit in shambles. But they maintain it. However, 4 rounds won for Cecil's Finest. Their guns, their strategies, not looking too changed.
They're pretty happy with their current position, and Maximus having to shift things up because they get pushed and completely cut off from so much of this site. CH Newman is going to have to back on off. No Hunter's Fury from Cecil's Finest here to really cut them out, but just playing these angles well together, getting a lot of info, but Maximus steps out just that tad too early, comes back for a second helping, and Doc Brodo just doesn't know what hit him. Cyber Cage going to buy a little bit of space as well, but pushing on through that wall position. They weren't aware at all. He runs out of ammo, and unfortunately the concuss is just a little too late. It'll be Griffin to finish that one off as the arrows from WoW are coming out left, right, and center, but it's the bullets that finish the job. 2 versus 2 now. Yudoku is in the perfect spot. Now Griffin is completely caught out here. Hunter Fury is going to force them. They weren't aware that the play was going to come through, and they try to call out the spot, but the headshot range doesn't come for Griffin. And WoW locks it out. That's that operator all the way over to the other side. Cecil's Finest are rolling in it.
Great commitment from Cecil's there as well. It's a 2v1. Drop both the ults. Sure. Relatively low charges coming through on the Dokus, and you just need to make sure that you save that round. Looks like they didn't actually get the op in the end. I think they managed to pick themselves up that one, but still doing a great job of keeping down Rootkit's ecos. You can see it's another light buy. They got to save up again. It's another round for Cecil's Finest, who are comfortable on this offense, playing the offense-sided comp, and they need to make sure that they are racking up these wins in the first half. And, well, they're doing it.
Cecil's Finest. A lot of info being gained here, but probably not aware that we're going to be players piling on in like that. Lot of info going right on back, and now F22 working on the attack. Wants to get to that shot with the Sheriff here, but Yudoku doesn't even let them get a word in edgeways. Brilliant stuff from the attackers here, and Cecil's Finest just making short work of these plays. The ultimate investment seems to be all for naught. as they were trying to get something off with the Sheriffs here, trying to get into position early, but they just have not been hitting the shots, and Cecil Finest just wiped the floor.
I was a little bit worried at the start of the round to see Cecil playing it a fair bit slower, especially with Newman being able to get all of that information that he did from his own ultimate usage, but at the end of the day, the gun advantage does make that one pretty simple for Cecil's fans. They can play it out a little bit slower when it's Phantoms versus Sheriffs. And again, it's got to be said, they do need to grab themselves these wins in this first half. The worry that I have for Cecil's Finest from what we've seen of some of these rounds is that when they're not getting the immediate rush down and there's time for Rootkit to play the retake, to let people come back, that's when they start to perform. But, no, right here, that's just a 1-for-1 trade for F22.
Not all too bad, but Rootkit now might be lacking that playmaking ability that F22 often brings to the team. Dargon is holding the angle, means that run it back will find, well, absolutely nothing. Dark gives a position away and was just standing right on top of it. Bit over-aggressive here from Dargon, but Griffin brings up the rear and means that they don't lose too much control, as Cecil's Finest making a very good call to just shift on over to the A site. They're going to have CH Newman, as usual, to try and contend with. He is going to be watching this angle, but they don't play for it. They don't play for that angle at all, and CH Newman playing that slower play gives away their position. It doesn't quite get the frag as well. So much in the control, though, however. And this Omen has looked stellar so far today.
Absolutely has. See what's going on with the else. They're trying to hand over... Yeah, hand it over to the Stellar Omen, as you say. Let Newman pick himself that one up after a suboptimal ult usage last round. But just right on cue, as we were saying, when Cecil's Finest, when they're playing it a bit slower, when the retake is there, Rootkit do seem to have the advantage as the individuals, which is why you need to see the speed coming out. You need to see an early numbers advantage, because I think Rootkit are starting to figure out that, yeah, we can actually just take something like a 1-for-1 trade to slow them down, or we can allow them to get onto the site. All we have to do is basically make sure that they don't have Doc Brodo smokes, and then we are a lot more confident in a retake when you have the Cypher cam, when you have Breach's flashes, when you have, Reyna to throw out her Leers. You've got a lot going for you if you're Rootkit coming out on the retake. And so if Cecil's Finest don't have a very fast open, very strong numbers advantage, it's not happening. And again, this is a bit of a slower start here for Cecil's Finest, which just gives... Sorry, for Root... No, for Cecil's Finest, which is giving Rootkit the time to move over.
Really is. Good spray coming out here from Maximus. Finds that first one. The dark cover gives them a little bit to work with as well. Paranoia might build something, but it's the flash that really does the damage there. While finishes off Maximus. Already playing for that. The curveball catches them. But still some slow play from Megalodon here. So much util invested early. And, well, keep an eye on this, because Cecil's Finest often investing way too much, and that's been a big part of why Rootkit have been able to reign supreme on these retakes. Fabrications playing close, playing those more defensive angles. Does actually lose out the Griffin there, and, well, that Empress has allowed them to control so much. Doc Brodo, I love this patience, but it's a little bit too much there, as CH Newman comes round the corner, finishes you off, and Megalodon can't even find an opening here. Wild finds one, but yeah, this is it right now. Rootkit are able to get these retakes because Cecil's Finest, they have all the flashes, they have everything to be able to make the plays. It's great. They have all the utility they need. But once they have control, keeping it is the hardest thing. It's like Alexander the Great, right?
I don't get the reference at all.
So he conquered a lot of places. You know that,
He
right?
did.
He
There's a lot of Alexandrias
for very
in the
long
world.
at all.
No, that's true. He didn't hold on to those ones for a while. He didn't have appropriate flash usage. This man was not...
No, it's not. It's the fact that he had only flashes, basically.
Oh, true, yeah. He wasn't holding on to his utility. He didn't have, a breach. He didn't have Dargon with him. That's what would have swung it for Alexander the Great.
If Dargon was there,
yeah.
Alexander the Great would have continued to control all of the lands that they did.
But it's a close enough analogy, because it is a real problem here for Cecil's Finest, as Rootkit are now playing a little bit more aggressive, getting themselves control of that ult orb in showers, and it's like you say, if they want to send 3 or 4 people sprinting onto a site and blow all their utility, as long as Rootkit just make it a 1-for-1, they're kind of okay with this, because then they can bring over everyone who still has their util.
Yeah, and they just find themselves in such an advantaged situation. F22 just playing passive here, doesn't want to get caught out, and knows that if they play it for that 1v1, if they play that more passive style, they're going to get a lot out of it. CH Newman claiming player after player, and Fabrications just packs on into their death. F22 backs off and is even spraying those angles as they're going to be able to get out, but they lose so much in the crossfire here. Griffin looking to maybe pick this angle, does indeed, wins it out, and it's just one player left. Wow, flings back on forward to try and find it, but is completely flashed up. It's caught in every bad situation they possibly could, and Rootkit easily destroyed that one. Started to find the chink in Cecil Finest's armor.
It's got to be said that in the first game, during the Agent Select, we were thinking a little bit questionably about Griffin locking in that Reyna. But coming across that first map and now seeing it in action here as well, you're starting to understand why the priority is being put on that. These Lears, again, I'm still thinking about the Lear that he threw onto Doc Brodo in round 10 or whatever it was last map, but also just now in showers, perfectly reading onto members of Cecil's Finest and securing 2 kills to swiftly turn around that round for Rootkit. And again, if you're being read like that hard in your Cecil's Finest, it becomes a little bit demoralizing.
It really does. Cecil's Finest also now lacking in terms of those ultimates. Rootkit have so much in the bank to play with. Sure, you've got the rifles finally again for Cecil's Finest, but lose this and a good few of your players won't be able to buy up.
Yeah, which is not the situation that they were expecting to find themselves in just 3 rounds ago. But now it looks like it could end up being an even scoreline at the midway point, which is not great for Cecil's Finest.
Really isn't. Good trapware coming on through here from WoW. Onto WoW, to be able to buy some time, and Rootkit again playing that slower style, buying time away, using their sentinels effectively where they know Cecil's Finest likely won't be able to do anything of the sort. A good recombo, does try and track Maximus there, baits out the movement. Can he survive? He does just about, but I can't say the same for CH Newman. Luckily there's something on the board, some refrags coming through, but Dargon needs to flick on over and loses that duel out the fabrications. Well done finally here for the Rays, who has been struggling so far. The dismiss buys the extra time, and Griffin is just playing this back angle, and it's all falling apart for Cecil's Finest here. They finally get that frag, but now where do they play to? What do they do here? I'm really surprised we haven't seen the Quantum Thief come out here from the Cypher, because that would be absolutely huge. Now he's just given us the game away, and Cecil's Finest are able to play wherever the hell they damn well want to.
Yeah, he's playing this one a bit of an interesting angle. As you see the double teleporters, Cecil's Finest maybe showing off a little bit why they chose this map, and I'm not sure where the nearest body is for Maximus to drop that Neural Theft. I don't know.
It's been long gone. He doesn't have the timing on any of those bodies as well, because he need to do it within a certain period of time.
Oh.
He won't be able to get it down, and this post plant is pretty disastrous now. He's got to frag out. He's got to just raw peek this angle and win it. He gives away his position and loses that duel to fabrications there. Cecil's Finest deciding, you know, much like with the Gordian Knot, the best way to solve any complicated problem of not being able to hold in the post plant is just to apply excessive force.
Okay, this dude, okay, we get it. Alexander the Great stan, understandable.
I don't know where it's going from.
Where's this? Yeah, what's going on here? Like, it's such a niche thing to be referencing. I don't know. Normally people want to drop stuff like that. They're talking about, like, I don't know, Avatar or something, you know?
Well,
when
did
they
you
want to
remember
bring
anything
up,
about Avatar?
Yeah, I watch it, like, all the time. I mean, the Last Airbender, not the...
Okay, sure. Not the blue one.
Yeah, no, not the blue one.
Yeah,
the bold
much
one.
Going on.
Ah, no, it just reclaimed the top grossing of all time
I
film.
don't know why that is. It's weird.
There was a re-release in China, I think.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. You know, I think it's a pretty enjoyable movie, but it's like not a cultural.
I'm gonna go see it again. Right.
Yeah, why not? I mean, well, repeats seem to be the name of the game, as this time Maximus takes down 2, and Cecil's Finest attempt at trying to crack this site open doesn't quite work when Rootkit are a little bit more ready for it. Shots come out right, left, and right. But there's still this ultimate to be able to come on out here. The Rolling Thunder from this breach tries to land their headshots. F22 whiffs and just pushes on into well there, falls down. And Cecil's Finest, they just make it work, regardless of what I was saying.
That's a strong round for Cecil's Finest there. Somewhat wrote it off a little bit when, again, it was relatively slow and even, but they managed to bring it back. However, that draws out the end of the first half. This is an 8-4 scoreline for Cecil's Finest, only with 4 rounds in the lead, which is not an insignificant amount, especially when you can pick up the first 2 rounds of a half as well. If they can take this to 10-4, then they'll be looking pretty good. But at the same time, very offense-sided team, not only in the composition, but the players as well. So this pistol round has an awful lot riding on it.
Rootkit need to step up. We asked the same of Sussel's Finest in their second half of game 1. Rotate quickly. Megalodonga finds that first frag, and we were saying they don't have a lot of the util to try and hold these angles, but if they just find the shots, well, who really cares? That is a nice aggression from Dargon there, however, just doesn't quite hit those shots. That they'll leave to over to CH Newman, who is a backup here from F22, is 2 versus 4. Some damage already, could buy them some space, could buy them some time, but with so many players, so many angles, they're still finding it, but it's just F22 versus the world. Unfortunately, not quite enough, as that flash just completely cuts them off.
Oh, a great attempt coming through from Newman and F22 there, but ultimately the raw numbers advantage comes up for Cecil's Finest, and such a massive round for them to win. Winning out the first round, you can see if they pick up the second off the back of it, match point is starting to look within their reach. So Rootkit might start to sweat a little bit now. They'll have an opportunity to try and bring it back on the third round, but you can see no force here for Rootkit. Maybe they're feeling a little bit more confident when it does come to that third round option. They say, it's fine, we lost that round, we lost this one, 10's all they get.
So far, Rootkit starting off strong in this round with a good shot onto Wal there, but instantly ceding control. This is Megalodonga at their finest, constantly finding those opening frags and providing something for their team. Just putting them ahead instantly, and meaning that Rootkit going to have their work cut out for them on this push. I expect to see a Roman teleport come on in once they've maybe baited some rotates, but unfortunately, they won't be doing that at all. I love this patience from Cecil's Finest here. They know that this push is likely to come on through, but the rotate doesn't come. They don't go through the teleporter, and instead just walk into the waiting arms of Fabrications there. CH Newman pushes on out, but Doc Brodo cleans on up. And it's double digits, almost certainly here, unless Dargon goes off. But that just can't happen. Just too many players, not enough time, and Cecil's Finest with a really strong round there.
It has to be said, we said the Cecil's Finest have a strong offense, but it's hard for them to then play the post plant out on the offense side. Once they're blowing out all their utility, it's a little bit easier for them to play this initial defense when they can hold on to their util for sure, but also when you've just got a numbers advantage. You know, pushing onto the site in a 3v4 can be a little bit of a rough one for Rootkit, and that's what they saw. But now, guns are in Rootkit's favor, and we said that this third round, kind of an important one. Starts off with even trades? No.
A lot of damage, though, onto Rootkit, and it's not like they have any way to heal here. Dargon completely trapped in this position. Flash should go out, but flashes in return. The dark cover. Megalodonga tries to spray it down. They should have been able to call that there's some relatively low health members here, but Doc Brodo still waiting, expecting that push to come towards B. It just ain't happening. Rotates come all the way on into A, and Griffin will leer his way through onto this site. Spike will go down, and now the post plant is well underway. Doc Brodo could get a lot of value, though, with this judge, considering how low some of these members are.
Absolutely, but if Griffin trades just one kill back, he's going to heal up to full. It's going to be a 4 versus 2 with reasonable health bars over on the side of Rootkit. So how this post plant goes for Cecil is going to be so important, as Newman finds that one, but is trade on back. Now Megalodon has the ult.
Teleports back, and Maximus just pushes on through. Fabrications tries to get the angle, but with Griffin double peeking it, that'll be good stuff there for Rootkit. They keep Cecil's Finest away from taking things all the way to the bank, but they're still very much looking to foreclose on this game.
Cecil's Finest very much in the driver's seat, but that third round always a crucial one in these games. And we saw there that a little bit unlucky for Cecil's Finest, it has to be said. That one can get to your head just a little bit when you see how low those health bars were for Griffin, for Newman and Maximus. And now coming into this fourth round, it's a little bit in Rootkit's favour. It'll be a while before Cecil can contest them too hard on the gun front, but giving it their all this time around. So having said that, there are rifles in quite a few hands of Rootkit. I'm making that one up a little bit, but
still, I think Rootkit aren't exactly in the strongest of positions here. They've got an ultimate to work with and at least an opening frag, but it's really going to be down to the individual plays that have obviously got them a lot of value here. Griffin, however, gets caught, and with Megalodon and Yudoku just sitting at the back of these sites, it's again Rootkit over-aggressive, getting caught out, and Yudoku just even gets out of dodge. Megalodon is still trying to play from this CT position, but maybe not expecting the play here, maybe expecting the rotate to come on through, and I don't think this is a bad idea. If UEA faked a rotate now with the teleport, which you can do with Omen if you get the timing right, this will be huge. Cecil's Finest would fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. But the dark cover goes on in. Rotate's likely going to get called back relatively quickly here. Yudoku is still waiting in this hooker spike. Will go down. The play will continue. This post-plant is starting to come to fruition here for Yudoku. They just need to seize that fruit already in there. But the ult away. This is a good investment here. Rootkit keep, I believe, the round alive after what was initially such a bad position. Peeks out elbow. Now that's a disaster. It's F22. Can't find the frags, and Cecil's Finest still just take it.
A great round to pick up for Cecil's Finest for sure. Securing themselves that one again, getting closer and closer to this match point, and when it's relatively even between the teams in terms of guns, those are going to be the major swing points. And now we look over and we see that Rootkit, the ones who aren't too happy, but at the same time, they can't really afford to eco right now. And you can see the armor not there for Dargan, the gun not there for Maximus. F22, he has the knives, he's got an ultimate on that. And to be fair, Dargan and Griffin are close as well, should they want to try and swing it. But it seems to still be somewhat in Cecil's favor as they approach match point.
F22 bringing out the knives. We've seen impressive performances from him recently, but this game hasn't been so hot for Rootkit. Haven't been able to channel the same kind of energy that we've seen from them on many a time. Ult goes on in, calls out that the play is coming from A here. I love this investment. Oh, Doc Brodo just shoots down F22. And with Griffin's position given away, smoke will mean that he is not going to be able to find a thing. Doc Brodo still playing this U-Hauls, while is still providing so much value and so much utility to the situation, and even able to just bring their arms to bear on the remaining members of Rootkit. Maximus is taken down in short order, and Cecil's Finest are starting to just completely click with this map. Split is looking interesting now.
What a round for Cecil's Finest, and like you say, Split coming up, it would appear, with Cecil's Finest only needing to grab themselves one more round and having the guns to do so. I mean, Doc Brodo in that one, he's playing Omen, but I thought he was playing Sombro with the way he just, booped onto F22 there with the barrel of that judge. Picked himself up a nice and easy kill to start that round off, and then looks like that'll be the one to close out the game as well, as an early ult from Dargan.
Yeah, just wants to make something happen here. However, F22 is just going to destroy Doc Brodo there. I thought that maybe the flash would expire in time. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough. F22 playing that high place Valorant we know can sometimes be necessary from the Megalodon, who just about manages to get that one on 1 HP now, and F22 is still playing the angle, and with a Spectre makes it happen here. Well, was not expecting that one, and Megalodon can't hold their own. Rootkit have found the way on into this round, and Yudoku is completely lost.
Tries to get himself out. Not able to do it. Rootkit secured themselves that round, but again, it is match point for Cecil's Finest, 12-6. Cecil have a lot of room to work with.
They really do. 6 rounds, and, well, ultimates are plenty coming up, especially that run it back from Megalodon. I think a lot of people underestimate just how good it is. It can provide you information, even if you find nothing there. And if the value you can get out of it just naturally, it's so much, especially with a player like Megalodon, who is stellar at finding those opening frags. Going to be fabrications, however, trading 1-for-1 here. CH Newman not really expecting to see that one, but we'll be happy to trade, I guess. Rootkit, when it's come to even numbers, have had a lot of success, but So shots back and forth. F22 again looking to execute on this site, but for the most part, Rootkit just following up behind, having a deep player in Maximus here, watching for that flank. Yudoku doing a very similar thing for their own squad and starting to make their move now. Megalodon still playing in that hooker. You see Maximus starting to shift up his gears, position himself a little bit better as the rest of the team kind of falls here. It's 2 versus 4. Dagon gets the all-important frag that he needs to start kicking things off. Vandal in hand, but Megalodon is looking to put that pressure on, put the timing on.
Oh.
The run it back doesn't actually spot the player in long here, and maybe this could be what they need. Maximus is starting to try and find those shots to try and get that spike down for their team. And even moves into a very tricky position here, pushing out a little bit too much from there. And now it is Dagon versus the world. Obviously does have that Vandal, but not much health to work with them there and can't even find the first frag. Sassel's finest take map 2 here, and we're all over the way onto Split.
And what?
No charges left.
Defenders win.
Yeah. Well, as my friend was saying, unfortunately he was muted in our issue, but yeah, a really impressive performance from Sassel's Finest there, and a lot more controlled as well, showing that they can actually take control of those fights, and we saw more of that this game, didn't we? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, we're still having some technical issues, it seems, but funnily enough, Doctor agreed with me. Simply put, Megalodon with a much better performance that game wasn't super huge over on Ascent, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to bring later on in this third and final game, because, you know, I really do love seeing them playing on this Phoenix, and as much as I love Sky, it just doesn't seem to fit the play. Now, we are going to go to a short break, as we are obviously having some technical issues. We'll get them sorted as we set up for our third and final game. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be back with more University Valorant action.
Party. 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 できた複する複する
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Null Valorant University Varsity Tournament Playoff Spring 2021. We are, as we said before, in the upper bracket semis and we're in the final game of this best of 3 between UEA Blue Jays x Rootkit versus Cecil's Finest.
And what a series it has been so far. 1-1 apiece for both squads and both maps looking somewhat equally dominant.
Yeah, it's been really great stuff from Rootkit to kick things off on Ascent, and I was really impressed with them. I was like, okay, this is the Rootkit we're seeing. We're seeing top form Rootkit. They're going to completely dominate and maybe even take this whole competition. But as soon as that happened, we went to that second map, and, well, York, they really found their footing, didn't they?
Yeah, York did not give Rootkit a lot of room to breathe in that game. 4 rounds were picked up by Rootkit in the first half when they were on defense. Then there were a couple of important swings for Rootkit moving on into their offense half, but ultimately the gap was too big, and Cecil's Finest found a couple of swings of their own, closed that one out nice and simple, bringing us now on to our third and final map, which is surprisingly enough going to be Split.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most normal one, but we saw the ban go on to Haven, and I think that's a very good decision coming out from UEA, especially since York is so comfortable there. I think this is realistically the only one we could have gone, because Icebox would have obviously been very favoured UEA, and, well, the same for Haven, but for York instead. So I like that teams are happy to shift things up. And I think Split is also not too awful for York. I mean, looking at this, they've got WoW on the Sage, and this has been something that's been really strong for them historically.
Yeah, I think that Sage is going to have a lot of weight on their shoulders, because as we saw from the last 2 maps, and as we're seeing from the draft here of Cecil's Finest, they need to go fast, and they need to play through chokes. And when they can get that, they're having a real nice time. And here on Split, there are a bit of faster rotates between each site, so they don't have to be as worried about a slow game like we saw on the very open Ascent. However, a lot of the ability to play into those chokes, to play into that speed and aggression, is something that comes from the Sage, making sure that you're getting the optimal usage out of the wall, that you're cutting off the appropriate angles or creating whatever choke you're looking to make with that wall. So if WAL is getting the wall, then it could be a very strong triple duelist offense side for Cecil's Finest once again. However, there's going to be a bit of room for error coming into this final map.
Yeah, there is. I think both teams are pretty happy to kind of pug out this very start, and of course, this gameplay has been brought to you by Logitech G, Twitch student, and Unite student, so please support our sponsors if you darn well can, as F22, he's not interested in supporting, he's interested in fragging straight on up, as Megalodon doesn't win out one of those all-important first duels, and Griffin takes him off the board. Looks like it's going to be a raise on up and push on through strategy from Cecil's Finest here, as they're just going to go straight on for this, and Maximus won't let them get on through. You have to be more aware of that, Doc Brodo, as they get taken down, and wow, one of the last 2 remaining players does manage to bring that spike towards the A site, but it's going to have to wait for that little bit of extra time, and, well, some damage goes down, but Griffin doesn't manage to quite claim a victim.
Not getting that Rainer snowball early out in the pistol round, but, oh wow, out on the long angle. Doesn't get taken out quite just yet. Don't think he has the heal up and available right now, but no, actually I think that one's taken away on him as we speak, so he's going to get a bit of extra value out of that one. However, still the numbers advantage for Rootkit, who aren't hard committing over to this A site right now.
Dargon not quite being able to shut that one out, but Rootkit still with the 2 versus 2 retake. Decent amount of health on both of these players. Should be able to make short work of the last remaining couple. Should be able to get that. Yeah, does in fact take down WAL, and with F22, you know he's going to hit those. A good round to start off for Rootkit as they get that spike defuse and will pick up that very first round, setting themselves on a great path economically.
Again, when it goes slow, it tends to go Rootkit. This round appears to be no different, and F22 getting 2 kills plus the plant there, or the defuse in this case, makes himself nice progress towards his ultimate. Just needs to grab himself an orb or an extra kill. provided that he goes at least 1-for-1 in this round, and then he'll have himself a nice knife out. And that's a bit of confidence coming out from F22 with this buy. You would ordinarily expect to see a Jet go for something, like the Sheriff, which we have been seeing from both players so far this game, but this time round, it's he just picks up the Bulldog. He wants to guarantee he's getting those kills and getting the win.
Yeah, having that little bit of extra firepower could make all the difference in the world. Griffin playing this long angle and, well, doesn't really care all too much about the firepower. The dismiss will keep them alive for now, and even goes back for a second helping there. And with the shotgun of Maximus coming on in from behind, they clean up the majority of that there. But Fabrications deals with the Bulldog player and is now going to try and bring it to bear on these remaining few, but with 1 versus 3, and they know they're likely to get pincered very, very quickly here. The Omen makes it in. No, CH Newman playing that little bit slower, but it still might be able to be enough to pick them up this round. Fabrications has to peek this angle so difficultly. Doesn't even put the drone into the right position. Still finds the frag, but finds themselves ever so unhealthy, and Maximus will clean it up. A good round in the end from Rootkit, but a little closer than they would probably like.
A little bit closer, but that is bearing in mind that Cecil's Finest did drop a couple of stacks on that round. Not going to be having the classic third round rifle-on-rifle matchup today because Cecil's Finest dropped early. They knew they had to get control of the game out of the gates, and they haven't been able to do that so far. However, F22 dropping early, he didn't get the knives either, which is delaying him when it comes to a potential operator buy.
Maximus waiting for the cheeky play up here. We'll get the right.
Oh!
Even takes down Megalodon. That was shocking. I'm so surprised that finished off Megalodon there. And Cecil's Finest now find themselves in such a difficult position because you know what happened? F22 shows up, takes the player down, and already they're just chunking him out left, right, and center. Cecil's Finest must be kind of worried about that Bucky now. The shotgun Sage working in full force here.
Absolutely putting in some work. I'm not 100% sure who it was, but I think one member of Cecil's Finest only had light armor. Would not be surprised if they were on the receiving end of that Bucky. But Newman has a bit of control here on that B lobby. And again, slow does favor Rootkit. So Cecil's Finest faking it out just a little bit. And they might instead be about to catch out Maximus.
Maximus, however, says, I'm going to catch out you. And fortunately, he was wrong. Well, takes that shot and takes him on down. Left clicks instead of right clicks there. And a big mistake. That should have been an easy frag for them. Cecil's Finest still trying to brute force their way on in here. But the Nano Swarm is going to send them packing towards that A side, where there's 2 players just waiting in this position. F22. It's just
low health bars.
And dash on out. Lovely stuff. And Griffin on this site with them, you know that this is going to be a very, very difficult position. They might get the ult orb here. I think that might have been the better decision because this push just ain't going to work out. You know F22's got that one down.
How many 4Ks has F22 got today?
At least 4.
Oh, you've seen that one cropping up a lot. I think it is at least 4. And I mean, honestly, he could have picked that one up a fair bit quicker. As we'll see, Maximus just easy headshot there. Wow, what an angle. That is millimeters to be sure. And then even gets a couple of repeats there to throw out a few more points of damage. But right here, F22, I think he doesn't know just how low everyone is there. And if something, maybe if he had a Phantom, something a bit more rate of fire, that's an easy 3k. But instead he plays it nice and slow and picks up the kills anyway.
F22 this time. Yeah, gets caught out. Not exactly where they want to find themselves, but, you know, testing their luck. Eventually it's going to run out there, and Cecil's Finest to find that opening frag they oh so sorely need. And the Nano Swarm finishes off Doc Brodo there. There is a res on Cecil's Finest, but they just don't have the space, I feel, here. They still make it go because they invest that wall to cut off a lot of those different angles. Maximus drops off the angle. Dargon still just trying to hold that left click and spray on through, but it's not quite enough. Maximus can't get in a position to use their own ult. And Cecil's Finest happy to now play that slower style because they have that 2-player advantage.
They have the numbers advantage, and like you say, they have control of the corpses, so no res can come through for Rootkit right now. Cecil just need to keep up the momentum, but good trades from Rootkit bring it back. They get a 1-kill advantage there, and now they're only a man down.
Yeah, Griffin unfortunately misses out on those shots, and now it's just CH Newman with the judge pushing this angle, and it's a little bit too long a range of a fight for them. Cecil's Finest will pick it up, and that's their first round on the board.
As we say, only one man down, but still less men down than you, or more men down than you want to be. And after all is said and done, F22 finally picks himself up that operator. So that's a rough start to the round for Rootkit for sure. And as we saw, Sacrifice do get themselves on the board. However, Maximus still has the ultimate, and F22 has the operator now as well. There's a bit of a discrepancy here with the operator on F22 and the Bucky on Maximus, but
Joke's over.
I'm sure Rootkit have a plan for this one. As Megalodon sending it on mid, trying to find out some information. Does break open the wall in time, but doesn't know who else is mid other than the Sage.
Fabrication's just waiting for their time to strike. They are going to be the forefront of their team, the vanguard even. Maximus
Good
is
angle.
just peering over.
Oh, bad angle! Oh, slightly better angle! What? No!
Turns back round, might even
No!
doesn't quite make it, but chaos reigns supreme here, and Cecil's Finest don't even know what hit them. And I mean that more than any other time I've said it. Genuinely confused about what went down there. They have the spike at the very least. F22's trying to find some shots with the operator, but just can't find it. And now it will be a spike and a retake coming in from Rootkit here. They're going to be quick off the mark and try and hold it, but Yodoku just won't let them win it out at all. It's Griffin who's going to have to force his way onto the site completely on his own, and Wal won't take him out easily. He'll do it with a shot.
I mean, I don't think Cecil saw it coming. I don't think that Rootkit saw it coming. I don't think Cecil saw it coming. I don't think Maximus saw it coming. I don't think we saw it coming. This is simultaneously sort of like one of the best and worst plays that I've seen, because like there's a lot of misses coming through there. It's a 1v4. But Maximus doesn't know it's a 1v4. Rootkit don't know it's a 1v4. He does find out a couple of kills. That's just a beauty in of itself right there. But Cecil do secure that round.
Molly goes in, Megalodon wants to try and open things up, and with that blind fire does take down Maximus. Cecil's Finest seem to thrive in this chaos. It seems to work out for them quite well. As Doc Brodo is going to start to push on forward, and again, these smokes really cutting off a lot of the lines which Rootkit want to play through. The turret's just not able to buy enough time, and Cecil's Finest all too happy to push on into these other sites, and Griffin just not hitting shots that we know they really can. F22 is going to start to maneuver onto site, wants to try and catch it, but again, Megalodon and Doc Brodo bring in the pain here. The Cecil's Finest is... It's just one player left in Dargon, and they're going to have to push into such a difficult angle here. They're going to get covered completely here. If not, that's smoke, buys them a little bit of space, but some funky moves might not be fresh enough to pick them up this round, as I think Dargon making a very sensible decision here to just go and save.
Might not be given the chance to there, as he does find out the one kill onto Fabrications, and that is enough to dissuade Cecil's Finest. They'll be backing out of that one, and Dargon does get the save, but Cecil's Finest ooh, does he get the save actually? Megalodon
Does land it.
Nice.
Cecil's Finest are pretty happy with that one. They completely stopped that rifle round, and after a shenanigans and a half, honestly, in the round prior, returning things a little bit more to normalcy.
Yeah, bringing it back, making it now 3 and 3 apiece. Once again, though, Maximus not really finding out a rifle, as he grabs himself the Bucky and the light armor. Just play it nice and eco, not trying to spend up too much, which should mean another round win for Cecil's Finest. And yeah, did he just heal himself? Did he drop the healer one himself?
I don't know. But
Oh.
that was a great usage of the bot there. And F22 getting chunked out that early has to hurt. I think Maximus is probably going to turn around and get that heal down, but yeah, it's still kind of not exactly the position you want to find yourself in. The fact that you've got that ultimate out as well, and it finds nothing. At least early on here, you're seeding players left, right, and center. Griffin coming up huge, even through the smoke. It doesn't matter. The Rainer looking so comfortable in their hands as Dargon just playing this close angle. This vent seems to be a place for Well, basically everything to go down right now. Cecil's Finest is just pushing through it. Basically every round. The run it back now coming on out. As Cecil's Finest are going to crack open this A site. No one is waiting there, but the retake just waiting to happen. F22 knows that these knives can be their friend. They just got to find some nice old heads to sink them into. And does eventually finish off Fabrications. Doesn't expect Megalodon to be covering his angle, however he is. And it's cleaned up nicely. CH Newman gets the cross. And it's just that 1 versus 1. Omen versus Omen. But with such sight control, CH Newman is going to have their work cut out for them. The bait on the util there hits the shot. And Doc Brodo can't quite hold a candle to this new upstart play.
Doc Brodo taking the bait on that one. Well played by Newman in that clutch situation. A really important round for Rootkit to win. We go on in seeing the eco on that, seeing how it started out as well. Maximus not getting the mid control that he wants, not able to find out a pick, but Griffin trades it back in the 2-for-1, equalizing. And then Strong holds in that heaven site, or not sight, but holding up in heaven to make sure that the round goes over to Rootkit. And yeah, an important round to win. F22 blew his ultimate for that one when no one else really had a gun. But something I do want to sort of bring attention to is that we still haven't seen that ultimate from Maximus. And the longer he goes without using it, the closer that Cecil are to just having a Sage ult of their own as well. As Fabrications goes for the montage play. Not going to find it, but does pick up the entry onto F22.
Some good shots trading back and forth as well. CH Newman just waiting for their time to strike. The shots do pepper them, but don't quite take them down yet. Just a love tap there, and CH Newman not able to deal with the flash. And Dargon spraying that a little bit too wildly. Griffin really is going to have to come up huge here. Maybe even pops the Empress if they find this next frag. Doesn't look like they're going to commit towards it. They've got a lot of control of this round. They really could pick it up. The flash is going to hit them, but they're just still rocking on through. Many a position getting contested here. They haven't even popped the Empress, but it seems like everything is their way. Griffin knows they have to stick it, and Cecil Finest entirely aware of that position too. The peak comes on out. They're still winning all these duels, and Griffin might just be able to stick it here. The push is starting to come through. Do they come off at half? No, they don't. And Megalodon puts them in the dirt. Cecil's Finest win the round by the slimmest of margins.
I gotta say, that's a close one for Rootkit right there. Griffin almost pulling out that clutch, but he doesn't quite manage it. And this means that Cecil's Finest are able to wrench back some of the control and again force Rootkit onto the eco, onto the defense. And again, looking over at the ultimate economy, gotta keep bringing it up. That now Maximus doesn't have another option to use his ult. He can't use it this round because there's not really going to be anyone worth reviving. Similar for the lockdown, the push shouldn't really happen as Megalodon sending it on mid.
Not all about success. We've seen a lot of teams have greater attacking power on the more revised split. It's good to see that Cecil's Finest are all too happy to play this more aggressive style. The triple duelist working out relatively well for them. That a lot of teams wouldn't really be able to make work. Yudoku still expecting this push, but not quite yet. Cecil's Finest don't commit. And know that if they don't get caught out, they're probably not going to lose all too many players this round. Fabrications keeping an eye on things, and Wild clears the corner. Maximus doesn't get it, and Dargon just a little bit too far out. Gets caught by Megalodon. Rootkit, and now just scrounging for frags here. F22. Bits movement, spots out a player.
Sees the
You have to
barrel.
get that easy wall back headshot. Fabrications not in the safest of positions here. F22 peeking out, trying to find these frags left, right, and center, but it's only for the econ here. Wild shuts him down, and Rootkit now moving back into these right points.
Okay, well, round handed over for Cecil there. Although, Rootkit did not make it easy. As you say, rifles back on the table, but again, Maximus can't really afford one. Not very sure what's going on there. I think he's just buying up every round and trading off. And again, gotta find some way to be able to use that ultimate. However, Griffin grabs himself the operator. Might be trying to make a couple of cheap picks early on in the round. Because, again, a loss here and the economy right back where it was last round for Rootkit. As Megalodon getting in onto the site, not going to find out too much other than the turret, but Dargon completely cut off.
His solo style is what I want to see from Dargon and from the rest of the squad. Let them invest a lot of utility here. Go for the retake, especially because that run it back can be ever so threatening. Don't let them get a lot of value out of it. Defender really Killjoy as well to really try and make this play happen. Hidoku sitting on the edge of this lockdown. A lot of time for themselves, but so much side control here. They're pushing on into F22, trades back and forth, and WAL comes up huge again, makes those numbers so effortlessly in their favor, and with an open plant, Maximus is really going to be hurting for trying to win this one out, and Cecil's Finest clear it. And even with all the ultimates invested, Rootkit can't find their way on in.
Now, what a swing for WAL there. Pick up 2 kills and then res your teammate as well for the 3-man turnaround. Excellent execution on that one for Cecil's Finest. And as you say, a lot was burnt there to not a lot of benefit for Rootkit. Dargon losing out on his ultimate. The operator being brought up by Griffin means that once again he is not able to bring any hurt this time around. As Megalodonga, he's having good success here going on into the mid of the map, and that wall does get broken out. Let's see what is the response, because Dargon isn't moving, but neither is the Jet. Over 4v4 on the map.
Pretty open play from Cecil's Finest here. Not wanting to get caught off guard, playing that longer con. Instead, going for this B push. I love this here. Cecil's Finest normally go for a much quicker push, especially through that mid, and they're going to get a lot of control out of this. The wall going to go up here to try and buy some time, but interesting to see the Sage Wall come out. It's the low strategy, and it seems to be working well for them here. They get forced into some easy, difficult situations, but because they have that weapon advantage, problems could definitely arise for the Blue Jays as they have to push on through here while holding strong yet again. But trades back and forth, and these Sheriffs really are coming up big here. You can't let this happen in the same way every single time. Eventually, Yudoku comes on true in that flank, and CH Newman can't quite find the frags to finish it out, but Cecil's Finest getting a little bit closer than they probably would have liked.
Yeah, it was a little bit close to the wire on that one for Cecil's, but they pick it up either way. Getting themselves now to 7-4. Pretty reminiscent of the last map that we saw, where Cecil's Finest on the offense side closed it out at 8-4. And I have to say that Bind was a little bit more of a defense-sided map, and they managed to come out with a similar advantage. So it's maybe looking decent for Cecil moving on into this next half. It's Megalodonga again on mid.
He has been a key player in this and the previous map. It's not a surprise to see him just pushing on through, opening up that site, making things ever so difficult for Rootkit here. Slow orb from Maximus, and even peeks out wide, way too aggressive. Fabrications just guns him down. A little bit too much here from Rootkit, where I think they just need to be playing that slightly more passive. Just let them push into you, not you into them, because you just don't have the utility to make it happen. You have barely even 2 flashes. And maybe, well, 3, sorry, including both of those layers. Dargon does strike down Fabrications, but still, with CH Newman not finding anything on the long angle, Cecil's Finest absolutely in control of the round again. They're taking these ambush angles, and Doc Brodo can just play back here, bait out shots, and let the team do the rest of the work for them. Dargon flanks on through here. Megalodonga still finds one, even with this disastrous scenario. However, Griffin is absolutely huge, as usual, for this squad. And the peek out, the dismiss, gives the info. Playing this closer angle, Griffin takes it down, and that's exactly what Rootkit needed to be able to bring this half that little bit closer.
It's a little bit, but feels like a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, that is now only a 2-point advantage for Cecil's Finest. If Cecil pick up the win there, that would have been 4. And going on into the second half, I feel like that's the sweet spot. I feel like when it's a 5-7 second half, if you're the 5, you're like, okay, this is alright. You know, we can bring this one back. But if you're 4-8, then it's like, oh, if they win the pistol round, that means they've won the second round, and then they only need to win the rifle round and we're out. So Rootkit definitely happy to pick up that win there. And Griffin, just another strong performance on the Reyna, it has to be said, as now the sides swap over. And Rootkit not going to have the... Cecil's Finest not going to have the best defensive capabilities. Although this time around they do have Wall on that Sage. So let's see what happens. Well, Megalodon, he's not changing his strategy, but isn't able to find that first pick.
Good molly there to try and buy some time, but it wasn't quite enough. They'd already sprinted on through.
Oh!
Doc Brodo, however, wait in the wings, cleans things up a little bit as Griffin tries to step that little bit too far forward. Paranoia goes in to try and deny them.
Oh!
Fabrications! Fabrications, and the flank doesn't mean a thing. Fabrications turns his gun onto Dargon, and, well, Dargon.
What a bot. I mean, it's a questionable push when I believe that Rootkit know that Doc Brodo is in the area, but they say, yeah, he's got a shorty, we'll take the 2v1, and not expecting a little bit of help to be there for Doc Brodo. What a great pick. And it was a great pick from Brodo the first time he went on into the vents there as well to start out the round, but just 2 for 1, Roomba. You do not see that one every day, and that's getting a lot of progress towards the showstopper now. Something Fabrication will be pretty happy with is F22. Running on in, instant one tap.
Brodo even going to be able to take out F22. It looks like it really is Cecil Finest's day, as they're just pushing on through left, right, and center. Aggression on the defense is the name of the game, and Rootkit just crumble at every single hurdle thrown at them.
They are struggling now, coming on into the later stages of this map. Of course, third round, rifles coming through, but you can see a little bit of restraint on the side of Cecil's Finest, sticking with those Spectres, knowing now that, yeah, they might lose this round, but they've got a pretty good shot going on into the next one if they don't shatter their eco too much. So I have to play this one a little bit more reserved, as Megalodon, an untested strategy, finds his way over to B and could well be rewarded. Great timing. Ooh.
Yeah, nicely done finally here from Rootkit, using the power of numbers to try and deny that push there. 5 greater than 2, and Cecil's Finest not quite able to find the success that they had in those prior rounds, even with those inferior weapons. But I think Megalodon was in such a stellar position here, could find a lot of spray, but the spray through the flash, even though they had none of the info, was massive to Yodoku. Just about gets out of dodge, a lot of damage. Rootkit could find themselves easily going down to very low player numbers. Doc Brodo can't get a word in edgeways. Unlucky to see there, as they could have cleaned up, but unfortunately Rootkit were way too proactive, and we've been seeing that proactivity is the name of the game so far in this series between these two teams.
Absolutely is. We said earlier on in the series that one of the advantages Cecil's Finest can have is that they can lurk around a bit and try to find various picks when Rootkit play it too slow. When Rootkit are so varied in their strategies, having people dotted around the map can really work out. The time we said it's not going to work is when 5 people are there, and that is what happened over on B site. I mean, Megalodon, he had a good swing, but wasn't able to find out a kill either time. Couldn't pick up that spray, as now, well, doesn't want that one happening again. So drops that wall, but it's pretty early, and it's not found all too much, as the push was not sent onto B. Instead, it's a bit of a bait, as we see that Rootkit are just lurking back over in sewers and trying to decide if they want mid, if they want A.
F22 trying to find some of those wallbangs there and set up something for the squad, but Cecil's Finest not finding any opening frags for free. Sorry, Rootkit not finding any opening frags for free there. Yodoku's going to have to force back on off as well. Doc Brodo has been loving the judge today, doing his best Fornic impression. You love to see it. I love seeing Fornic play.
Us? Yeah.
Doc Brodo has had a lot of successes too. I've actually been quite impressed. I normally want to see him play the brim, but it's been working out for them. Now, F22, these solo pushes just have not been good. You need to be playing with your team more, because otherwise things like that happen, and the rest of your team is going to get harassed by Fabrications here, who bring it out the rocket launcher and will actually take down CH Newman, even though they get picked out of the air. Wild's going to push on in here, but it just isn't enough. Megalodon managed to get the refrag there. I'm surprised to see that. I don't believe has any flashes left though, so this retake could be somewhat difficult. Even though it's versus 2 players, the paranoia is going to be that key part as Megalodon opens up the wall and starts that push. Spot gives it away. Dogon holds strong, but wins out that duel. Griffin proving that Vandal much, much stronger than the Stinger. Megalodon has his work cut out for him here now. Very little util and very little space to play as well. Has to pick this one at a time and does indeed, but Dogon flicks on over, takes him down. And Cecil's Finest aren't so far ahead anymore.
Now it's becoming a much closer game for sure. Speaking of close, Fabrication's just a couple of centimeters away from landing that massive ult, but only found out the one kill with it. And it meant that Rootkit able to push through onto that site, and Rootkit starting to find their groove a little bit now on this offense side, realizing that when they have just 5 people heading onto one site, it tends to go in their favor, especially when the utility is burned early by Cecil's Finest, which is what we're seeing here. Oh, what a peek!
Oh, come on. Those are rifles as well for Megalodon and Wal here. I think Megalodon probably should have chucked that rifle back and picked up the second, but Wal just pushes in aggressively. The run it back from Megalodon here. That flash is going to be huge. Doesn't turn around to it though, and as a result is getting pushed ever so quickly. However, it's not quick enough. The Leah doesn't cut off enough of his vision. Megalodon is claiming one, but CH Newman backs up their squad, and with the res, Rootkit still have the momentum. The tempo is there. The wall opens up, but Doc Brodo wasn't adjusting for the raise, and now the raise of Fabrication starting to push on into that back line. Has to come up huge. Needs that first hit headshot, otherwise their position completely given away and things are about to go disastrously for them. And there they do. Rootkit only 1 round behind.
Excellent equalization coming through from Rootkit. And again, strong push. Send 5 people in one place. Bring one of them back with Maximus's ultimate. And you can start to turn things around quite confidently. And now we look over and we see, okay, Dargon has the lockdown. Griffin just 1 point away from the Empress, which we know he can carry with. Should make for a pretty interesting point to see if this one evens up or if Cecil's Finest can maintain their lead. There's another switch up, 4 people on mid, but it's a good call.
Oh, Yudoku and Wal really make it happen here. And the fact that Yudoku, at least initially, was about to escape out of there with that dash could have been huge. Still a player advantage for Cecil's Finest here, and the player advantage that they need so little in the way of a utility to execute onto sites would normally be such an issue for Rootkit here. But the fact that Dargon snuck in while all of this went on, I think this is a perfect storm for Rootkit. Even though they're a player down, it could be exactly what they needed. Doc Brodo sent all the way back to the vents. This is teleport won't quite work out yet. Some slow positions and some forward positions mixed in abundance for Rootkit here as Maximus plays right towards the back of site. Finds that first frag. Looking towards more, and as Dargon shows up with a 2K, it's now Fabrications trying to lock this out. Has the satchel charge and try and fake things out with it. How long it lasted, CH Newman knew, and that'll be the round. Even Stevens now as Rootkit are turning things up a notch, and their attack is looking fantastic.
They are looking confident here on the attack side, as you said, and that should have been a pretty decent start for Cecil's Finest. They read the mid push, had the appropriate members there, started off with almost a 2-for-0, ended up trading back into a 2-for-1, but there was a brief window where Yudoku looked like he might get out of that one alive, but at the end of the day, as we've seen time and time again this series, a numbers advantage out the gates has not meant a lot for Cecil's Finest as Megalodonga finds an... Oh, that's Wal.
Oh, come on. They're just losing so many players to these Sheriffs, and they really shouldn't be. Rootkit slipping up here. I mean, they're picking up rounds despite it, but it's just not a good look.
But I do like a good Sheriff one-tap, it has to be said. A good old-fashioned Juan Dig to start out your round. Pretty fun way to do it. Wal does have the res available to try and swing this game back in their favor. Dargon's lockdown, not going to find out too much, but we can see Doc is on the site.
Yeah, it buys them site control, and that means the F-22 can push up with the backup to take down Megalodon here. They try to pre-fire F-22, but he's a little bit closer than they probably expected, a little bit tighter to that wall. Paranoid goes in, buys that little bit of time. F22 still watching the angle. Yudoku is going to be that main point of force for this squad. He's going to try and move on in there, but it's WAL again with that Sheriff, and Fabrications following up. It's now the res. It's a 2 versus 4, but the weapons, oh, there's so much in their control, but when you lose fights like that, that's a disgrace, Jargon. You needed to make it happen. The nade forces them out, and Fabrications and the gang do pick up the round, even though they were only armed with Sheriff's knives and a stinger.
Great round for Cecil's Finest. Like you said, they weren't set up for success, but great performances from WAL, finding out the early pick with the Sheriff, and then takes that trade refragging onto Yudoku when Yudoku drops because he's got the res. It wasn't looking great. They didn't have control of the site, and there was no control of the bodies for WAL to get the res out, but strong team play between WAL and Yudoku, so that once the trade has been made, you swing it right back in your favor with the res, reclaim control of the site, get the guns, and save your eco just a little bit. So Cecil's Finest reclaiming their lead and setting up for a quick close out. If Rootkit cannot hold on to this round, they will not be able to afford rifles in the next.
It's last chance saloon for Rootkit. They gotta make this happen. None of the shenanigans that have happened so far over the course of this game. Frags with Sheriffs galore, shotguns absolutely blowing people away, and just flash after flash that lead to confusing situations, to say the very least. A good slow into WAL, forces them off the angle. Yudoku's still playing back here. Need to see some way to clear it out, that whether Yudoku is going to be in such a difficult position to deal with, but good usage of the Paranoid there. Buys that little bit of space. As the push comes through, they're pushing on into A. Fabrications forces themselves off the angle as the dark cover is still there, but the shots do come on through. Dark Bruno clears too! In an all-important timing, Fabrication comes up huge as well, and CH Newman versus 3 to finish things off. Position given away, out in the open pretty much. This is going to be hard. 1 versus 3, and Cecil's Finest might have just broken the back of Rootkit here. Playoff buffs might be starting to fail them.
We have said across the course of the series that time is not the friend of Cecil's Finest, but Doc Brodo here on this map with the Omen, with the shotguns, is looking to turn that one around. When there were lurks and roams coming out from Doc, it wasn't great, but now he has found his calling. It's find a corner, sit there with a shotgun, like it's Modern Warfare 2, and start to swing these rounds back in their favor. Absolutely love to see it. And you can see just how much this has hurt Rootkit. They got a couple of kills, they've still got the rifles, but again, losing this round for Rootkit, it's probably game. Cecil can pick up the win, and they start with a frag. That could be the series for them.
Come on, guys. What is this? We need to be seeing more Breach come out from the Blue Jays, because they really require it. I appreciate the stage is great here, but you just need to be bringing more of those flashes, killers, angles, because you're just dying left, right, and center, to be completely honest with you here. So Yudoku and the rest of Cecil's Finest are sitting pretty. This is the last rifle round that Rootkit are really going to be able to afford, and even that, it wasn't a proper rifle round by any means.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw, especially on Ascent, when Drogon was on that breach, was he was doing his due diligence. He was checking every single corner before moving in. We're not seeing it this time around, and means Doc's getting a couple of kills as Yudoku finds out 1. Now on the 1v2 is traded back on, and CF Newman finding Doc as well to even it up.
Res. Rootkit are trying to keep themselves in this game. 4 versus 3, this should be perfect, right? Megalodonga comes back on in with the run it back to make things happen, and WAL consistently providing so much value for this squad. Fabrication's going to hop on.
Good angle.
Well, take Griffin right on down. They were not expecting that from this raise, and they still have to be worried about Megalodonga here. The molly goes out, lands a little bit closer than they would probably like as Fabrication starts to close the angle and close the opportunities. Rootkit haven't given up. You can see it in their eyes. 2 versus 1 now. They want to make it to those double digits. Fabrications knows that there's likely a player there, but hasn't quite gotten vision on them. They're oh so low. The tap doesn't get the wallbang, and CH Newman closes things up in this round. Here in round 21, Rootkit are keeping themselves in it.
They are holding on for dear life here. Great patience, great control of the site there. Cecil had the pincer that they were looking for with the setup there from Fabrications and Megalodon, but they're just not going together. And what was a pretty simple 2v1 suddenly turns into a 1v2 for Cecil's Finest. Now, again, sitting on this 11-point mark, could be trying to push it through to match point, but Rootkit have a lot of room to work with off the back of that win. Griffin doesn't find too much early on. F22 his way onto the site.
Good amount of control here from Rootkit. They just completely denied that attempt to be some part of the retake from Doc Brodo here, and Maximu's pushing up, trading out. That's all Gucci, honestly, for Blue Jays here. UEA seem to really start to show up when push comes to shove, and CH Newman, the new blood, have praised him endlessly so far today. Very, very impressed with what they've been able to bring here. Good paint shells, forces off the angle. Fabrications jumps on up, takes a little bit of his own damage as they try to execute. Too many angles though, however, as they execute on, and Cecil's Finest get cleaned up in the second round in a row. It's even Stevens.
Yeah, but now it's not that even. Maybe on the scoreline, but not in terms of the economy. Once again, looking down, it's not great for Cecil's Finest. You see a couple of guns, a couple of armors lacking. However, Fabrications gets himself a buy from Yudoku. Okay, so they're making their way on up, but you can see the ultimate's not really in Cecil's favor either. So Rootkit have a fair amount to work with.
Megalodon was waiting for their time to strike, but it just won't happen. Forced off the angle. The smokes are plenty, honestly, from Cecil's Finest and from Rootkit here, as both those jets really trying to deny vision from each other. Cecil's Finest, they lose this, well, they're then playing for overtime. They have a little bit of money in the bank, but not much, honestly.
It's not a lot. I mean,
they could go home.
A couple of frags and they at least would have some ultimates, but F22.
Aggression unfiltered. F22 pushes in, takes down Yudoku. Doc Frodo sitting in the back here with this judge. He should not be able to get away. He can't keep getting away with this. CH Newman clears out, sprays through the smoke, finds the frag, gets the couple of shots on in, but Fabrications just about manages to deny that frag. If it had gone through, it would have been 1 versus 2 in the retake. Ever so difficult. There's still a little bit of utility there, and with the heal, Cecil's Finest aren't too far behind. Maximus is just holding this angle. Dargon backs it up. Brilliantly done. And Rootkit are just 1 step away from moving themselves on towards these winners' finals.
Rootkit are just so good when it comes to these post plants. They have their setups, they have their angles, and at the end of the day, it is not Fabrications and WAL, it's not Raze and Sage that you want to be the last 2 up in these situations when you're down on that side, trying for the retake. And it also has to be said that every time that Megalodon gets shut down at the start of the round, it hasn't looked too great for Rootkit. His early sprints are such an important part of the rounds, and you can see that that wall is being committed just to make sure he gets the orb, but Griffin!
What?
Breaks it at the last second.
And it just so happens to randomly go on into his head there. That was not spray control. That was nothing. Griffin getting mega lucky there, and that is exactly what they need, and especially a throw for aggression. Doc Brodo there dashes on through. F22, no respect, no nothing. Fabrication sure gets 1, and WAL tries to keep the dream alive, but they need that 1 frag, that 1 more piece to keep it up. Get 1 frag, get the res, that's 2 versus 2, and you can win this. But with Rootkit in such entrenched position,
oh no,
it might be a little harder than this. So much damage. Doggone finds the frag, and a 13-11 win here on Split sends Rootkit to the finals with a 2-1 scoreline.
What a series it was. First map looking like an absolute wash for UEA. Moving on into the second, once we get Megalodon on that Phoenix, something is a bit more comfortable on. We get the triple duelist now, very heavily in favor of the York squad. But when it all gets said and done, we get onto that third and final map. It goes the distance. Sure, there's no overtime, but 13-11, you really can't ask for a lot more than that. One-sided first map, one-sided second map, neck and neck here on the third.
Yeah, and again, impressive performances from Rootkit to play around each other as a team.
Yeah.
And that was what really brought them together. Sassa's Finals, as you kind of highlighted, two great fraggers on the squad, but it wasn't enough to put them over the board. And again, exactly as you highlighted, the frags coming into Megalodonga early. Megalodonga and WoW just being that little bit too gung-ho, I think, on that site and pushing up aggressively. And when they get caught out, well, the round falls apart, and Rootkit are all too happy to try and capitalize on that.
Yeah, I mean, we said before the series that this was a Rootkit squad that have a very wide arsenal of tactics. A lot of different strategies that they like to employ. Looking over at the Cecil squad, it seemed to mostly be Megalodonga on Phoenix to start out the round, which does question a little bit why he was then on the Sky on the first map, but that got remedied relatively quickly. But as we saw, moving on to the third, there's a couple of times he's swinging out into 4 people. He's just not able to find out the spray. And then in that final couple of rounds, it seemed that this had been figured out by a Rootkit. They knew, it's like, okay, we'll just smoke out mid where he likes to go. We're going to send people over to stop him getting that orb that was going to commit for him. And once that's figured out by Rootkit, the rest of the rounds tend to crumble.
I really do. And unfortunately, Cecil's Finest move on into that lower bracket. They've still got a shot if they can try and take on a Rootkit and potentially in those grand finals or again in the lower bracket. So keep it up. Impressive performances from York. They should not feel discouraged, but congratulations to UEA. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for here today. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you to our sponsors, Unite Student, Twitch Student, and Logitech G for helping us bring this here. And if you're interested in getting involved in university esports, check out our Discord, discord.gg/The Newell, and you can get involved in all sorts of university esports shenanigans. So thank you very much to our observer, Salty J, and to our producer, Noah VW9. I've been Rook. Joining me has been Doctor, and wish we all a pleasant evening.
URBL, right into the cloud. This is how we go. DURBL, let me take control. We are on a roll. We gotta go.